the fans making up a big mosaic of PNE in the stands. It's a magnificent sight. They are proud of their club, hence the nickname Crowd Preston. When the seats are empty, you can see the image of Tom Finney in those seats. Absolute Preston legends, and they've had their legends from the past. Villa are trying to make new legends for themselves, and another one, Tash, is Morgan Rogers, who I continue to be impressed with. Even when he has little lulls of form, little dips, he comes firing straight back and shows us what he can do.
Yeah, he absolutely does, and has been recognised that with his England call-up. I think it's great to see, you know, been heavily involved in everything good that Villa have done this season. Still so young, still so exciting, you know, so if he's already producing performances like this season, then, you know, Villa will do well to keep him, to be honest, because I think a lot of top clubs, not saying Villa aren't a top club, will come sniffing for this young kid.
It's FA Cup game day on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus. Please drink responsibly. And wow, this FA Cup has been sensational this season, and there's more to come as well. However, today it's a case of hashtag pray for Preston. It was tough enough for them, and then they've been robbed of some of their best players for this one. Can a strong Villa take full advantage? Preston against Aston Villa. Winner goes to Wembley in the FA Cup semi-finals. Here's your commentary team at Deepdale. FA Cup winner, former England international, Tash Dowie, alongside Ian Danter.
Thanks, Adrian, and a very good afternoon to you wherever and however you're listening to Talksport, or indeed our friends over the pond listening to us on Sirius XM FC in the United States. The FA Cup quarter-final weekend continues here in front of 22,000 fans at Deepdale. Two former winners of the competition meeting in Lancashire, but those last triumphs for Preston North End and Aston Villa date all the way back to 1938 and 1957 respectively. The Lily Whites then the sole EFL representatives in the last 8 and have had another solid championship season, their 10th in succession, this time under Paul Heckingbottom, who came in after just one game played this season, although the 10-point gap they have to the top 6 is probably too much to make up with just 8 league games left. So all the eggs, you would think, going into the FA Cup basket. Aston Villa's season, well, it has the potential to be their best in recent memory. They may be 9th in the Premier League, but only 3 points behind 5th place Manchester City, who face Bournemouth later in the last quarter-final, exclusively on Talksport, don't forget. And Unai Emery's old club PSG await in another cup quarter-final, this time in the Champions League. That's in 10 days' time, and we'll bring you that one as well. Preston saw off League One Wickham and Charlton in rounds 3 and 4 before a first home win over their Lancashire rivals Burnley in 16 years got them to today's encounter, a first cup tie at this stage for the hosts since 1966 and all that. But Paul Heckingbottom has major selection problems today, through players either being injured, cup tied or ineligible. The main one of those is the injury to first choice goalkeeper Freddie Woodman, who's picked up a knee injury in training and will not feature for the rest of the season, it appears. So Di Cornell, the Welshman who's only made 2 championship appearances for Preston all season, gets the nod in goal. The other changes see Kessler Hayden unavailable because he's can't face his parent club Aston Villa. Ryan Porteous is cup tied. Ryan Ledson also absent. Liam Lindsay is benched. Jordan Story, Andrew Hughes, the vastly experienced Robbie Brady and Ben Whiteman are brought in by Heckingbottom. So the Preston lineup looks like this. Di Cornell is the keeper. Jordan Story, Andrew Hughes, Lewis Gibson, Robbie Brady, Jada Meghoma in a back 5. Ben Whiteman, Stefan Tordason and Mads Brokja are the 3 in midfield. Emil Rees and Will Keane in attack. On the bench, a 19-year-old keeper, Libor Stahl, the only keeper available to Heckingbottom as a backup. He's been playing for Lancashire County whilst he's been on the books at Preston. Liam Lindsay, Ched Evans, Patrick Bauer, Milutin Osmajic, Theo Mawene, and then Kasper Pasiek, Troy Tarry and Theo Carroll from the Preston Academy to make up the numbers. As far as Aston Villa are concerned, they've been away for warm weather training in the UAE after 4 straight wins in all competitions, and they've reached round 6 with 3 home wins over West Ham, Spurs and Cardiff. Emery selects a side with 2 changes from the win against Club Brugge. Out go Matson and Ollie Watkins, in come Digne and Ramsey. So it's Emiliano Martinez in goal, Matty Cash, Esri Konsa, Tyrone Mings and Luca Digne in the back four, Boubacar Kamara and Yuri Tielemans holding in midfield, Morgan Rogers, Marco Asensio and Jacob Ramsey behind Marcus Rashford in attack. And Preston get us underway on Talksport as our FA Cup double bill starts with Preston in their traditional white shirts and socks and dark blue shorts. They're attacking from left to right towards the Alan Kelly town end that's to our right. Villa will be attacking the end where their supporters are in the first half. That's the Bill Shankly end away to our left-hand side. And Preston have immediately want to throw. And Robbie Brady, straight away, appears to be playing on the right-hand side of a back five, Tash Dowie.
Yeah, well, straight away I've just been changing my notes because it's not how I saw the back five lining up. So straight away there we talked about the makeshift back five and people having to probably fit in different positions, and that's going to be the case today. You know, people are going to have to play a position and a half. It's going to be a big ask for them, but it's a great start. The crowd are already getting behind them. Try and get into Villa's half as quick as you possibly can and create something early on.
Preston trying to win a corner through the efforts of Emil Rees, but his back heel didn't come off a Villa player, so Emiliano Martinez will have the goal kick away to our right. There's a lot of balloons on the pitch, mostly white and dark blue in colour for the Preston fans. It's a fairly stiff breeze blowing around the stadium today. It might affect things a little bit, but bright sunshine. Only Emiliano Martinez's penalty area to our right is in shade. Everything else bathed in early spring sunshine. Luca Digne, left back for Villa, collects the ball. Minute and a half gone, given away. Emil Rees wins it at the edge of the area. There were claims for a penalty against Will Keane as he went down in the area, but nothing doing, says Chris Kavanagh, today's referee. Camera tucks it back to Mings. It hits a balloon, sort of Darren Bent style, back at the Stadium of Light. And Preston have won it back, and they've hemmed Villa in these early minutes, Tash.
What a great start. Really strong first couple of minutes here, and the crowd are getting behind them, and this is exactly what they want. You know, this is going to really lift their confidence with regards to potentially a penalty call, crowd behind them, trying to rattle Villa early on.
What did you make of that penalty claim? You know, because Keane went down.
Yeah, he did go down. I thought it was soft, to be honest. I thought the crowd were trying to make the referee's decision for him. But again, it's great pressure. And you kind of thought, would they be sitting back? But it looks like, yeah, they're in that mid-block. But they're looking to try and step on and have a go.
Couple of minutes gone. 0-0 in this FA Cup quarter-final at Deepdale. Jacob Ramsey brought into the side today to play as the left-hand side of the three in behind. Marcus Rashford is playing through the middle for the Villains this afternoon. Packed away and as well. Every seat taken by Villa fans, hoping that this will be truly a season to remember under Unai Emery. Boubacar Kamara works it out to the right-hand side. Matty Cash having a run, gets the ball into the area, looking for Rashford, but Jordan Storey got a foot onto it and got it half clear, but it's tidied up at the back by Boubacar Kamara, just over the halfway line, and works it back to England's Esri Konsa. Gave a very good account of himself for his country, playing for Thomas Tuchel's new look England setup.
Yeah, it's really compact at the moment. You can see they're almost saying to Villa, look, just have it wide. You know, the numbers are really narrow, and again they're forcing Villa to then make mistakes. But this is the kind of setup that you expected to see throughout the game. But what Preston have to be really careful is that they don't drop too deep. You know, for 90 minutes you can't be doing that. You have to be brave enough to then step on and push up higher up the pitch.
I guess the temptation is when you play five at the back, two drop deep, because you feel you've got that insurance, right? It's going to be a throw-in once they burst a few more balloons. There's still about 7 or 8 left on the pitch that are just blowing around randomly in and around Di Cornell's penalty area. As the throw is taken by Jordan Storey, looking for the flick on by Robbie Brady. Rees giving chase as the ball trickles back to Emiliano Martinez at the edge of the D. Plays it out wide to Cash, and Cash drives it down the inside right channel, looking for Morgan Rogers, but it drifts out of play before Rogers can get to it, and it's a throw-in to Preston. 4 minutes gone on Talksport in the FA Cup quarter-final. Preston 0, Villa 0. And the throw will be on the left-hand side. Paul Heckingbottom took charge after Ryan Lowe left one game into Preston's season. Got Sheffield United to the FA Cup semi-finals, we shouldn't forget. Heckingbottom a couple of years ago won 13 of his 42 games in charge of Preston. Here's Jacob Ramsey for Villa, almost collides with the referee as he runs through the centre circle, flicks it left to this near side to us and Luca Dean. Myself and Tash sat towards the back of the Tom Finney stand. Here is Luca Digne to the byline, who will try to wrap his foot round the cross and shanked it horribly way behind the goal for a Preston goal kick, 0-0.
Yeah, that was nice play there by Villa, and I think that's what they've got to do today, to be honest, if they're going to break down this Preston team. It's got to be up, back, then runners in behind, and that was exactly it. Playing into the forward, support from midfield, but then third man runners to try and penetrate this back line, because it is very compact, and it's just a poor execution there by Dean. Not like him, you know, he's got a wand of a left foot, and there was good bodies in the box as well.
I'll make it 3 balloons left to burst out there on that pitch at the minute. Emil Rees gamely giving chase down the right for Preston and forces Digne to put it out for a throw to the hosts, level with the 18-yard line, with Preston attacking that Alan Kelly town end to our right in this first half. And it will be Robbie Brady, Republic of Ireland fullback. Well, he was going to take it, but then he's decided to leave it, and it looks like Emil Rees is the long throw specialist for Preston these days. He probably would have been on the end of a long throw rather than sending it into the box, but here he is all the same on this near side, the Preston right, launching it in from the edge of the area. Up goes Martinez and claims it very comfortably at the edge of his 6-yard line, 0-0.
Well, that's a great throw, and that's definitely a weapon that they can use. You know, if he just got that little bit lower and executed it, the fans going wild there.
Well, but because Martinez threw it out, he was balked as he tried to throw it out, and it came to Lewis Gibson, who chipped it over Martinez and into the back of the net, but Chris Kavanagh had long since blown the whistle. God, they've bred more balloons from nowhere. Suddenly there's 24 out there in around Di Cornell's penalty area.
But yeah, going back to that throw-in, I think that's definitely a weapon and something now that Villa have to be aware of. Don't be conceding throw-ins high up the pitch.
There is a high press from Preston. That is clearly in evidence, but Villa bring it clear. And it's sent to Matty Cash just over the halfway line. Rogers just to his right. Rashford at the right-hand corner of the area. And it's gone in field to Yuri Tielemans. Tielemans plays it left to Asensio via a balloon. Out to Digne, left-hand side, corner of the box. Just flicks it down the left-hand side of the area for Ramsey. Tries to play it across the face of goal. It's head tennis in there. And eventually there's a high boot from Marcus Rashford. Oh no, it's Asensio, forgive me. And it's going to be giving us a free kick for Preston North End inside their own penalty area. Preston 0, Villa 0.
Yeah, the pressure's coming now. It's been a strong spell for Villa the last couple of minutes. They're getting in behind, definitely down this left-hand side. They're getting a lot of joy with Dean. And Preston need to be aware of that. You know, it's going to be a big ask, you know, for their forwards and also their wide players, but they've got to track back and do the work defensively as well, because they're getting overloaded in these wide areas a bit too much at the moment.
Gibson plays it out to the left-hand side for Andrew Hughes. He's the left-sided of the 3 centre-halves. It goes Story, Gibson, Hughes in that order from right to left. But the ball's back in the Villa half with Konsa and Mings. Takes a touch with his left foot. Mings plays it just over halfway. Good spin and turn from Jacob Ramsey. Running at the Preston backline. Goes down under pressure from Torderson. And that's a free kick for Villa. 30 yards from goal. In position A for a right-footed strike, 0-0.
Yeah, great play by Ramsey. He's so good in those tight areas and when he can get half turned. And to be honest, it's a professional foul. It's not an ideal position to give it away, but you know, he's getting close to that penalty area. So probably, like I said, a professional foul to take him down. They can regroup now. It's a pretty good distance out. So, you know, this is probably the first action now that the new goalie Cornell is going to face.
Yeah, there's a good 3 or 4 Villa players standing around the ball. Tielemans, Rashford, Digne, who I've seen score some fantastic free kicks during his career. I remember one at Lincoln when he was playing for Everton that was just top quality. Asensio moves away, Tielemans moves away, so Rashford looks favourite on his right foot because this free kick is slightly left of centre for Villa.
Yeah, you definitely fancy Rashford here, don't you? He's full of confidence at the moment, and the technique that he has, that up and down Ronaldo style. Hasn't
scored yet for Aston Villa since his loan move from Manchester United. Here he is, Rashford, with the free kick. Around the wall, but straight at the keeper, and Di Cornell's first action in goal for Preston is to comfortably hold on to that free kick, 0-0.
And that will do him the world of good as well. You know, as a player, you want to get that early touch in the game, and as a keeper, that's exactly the same. So to get that early save within the first kind of 5 minutes, I think is really important.
Macoma's giving chase as the ball was stumped down the Preston left, but it goes straight through to Martinez. Yeah, Di Cornell, 33 years of age now, vastly experienced, former Swansea youth player. But he might have some defending to do here because Rodgers has been sent away down the right-hand side of the area. Crosses into the box and it's turned behind by Hughes for Villa's first corner of the game as we reach the 10-minute mark at Deepdale, 0-0.
That's a great run there by Rodgers, and you can actually see the way that he kind of did that out to in, and he timed his run perfectly, and Magoma was caught in no man's land there, you know, ball watching, not aware of Rodgers on his right-hand shoulder, and he was in acres of space. I actually think potentially he could have driven more with the ball, and probably the end ball in the end was quite poor that he didn't pick someone out, but warning signs.
Don't forget, we're the only radio station bringing you both quarter-finals in the FA Cup this afternoon. Bournemouth, Manchester City will be with you later at 4:30. Adrian's already there to host our coverage at the Vitality Stadium. Corner taken by Villa, right-hand side, short from Rashford to Digne, tries to float it into the box. It might drop at the far post for Asensio, but it's just kept away from him. And then Torderson tries to release Reece over the halfway line, trying to outpace Matty Cash. Cash got back at him, got a foot in, and he was fouled by Reece. And so Villa get a free kick in their left-back position as Emil Reece couldn't outpace the Polish right-back for Villa.
Yeah, that was a great foot run. I love those kind of situations where the big number 9 wants to take him on, and you probably always fancied Matty Cash, to be honest, in that position. I think potentially Reece could have used his body a bit better, got his arm across him to stop him getting the nick on there, but it was a foul in the end, and you can see there, pace-wise, that Cash definitely has a bit of an edge on him.
Scored 10 goals this season, Emil Reece, all in the Championship, none in the FA Cup so far. Robbie Brady chips the ball over halfway into the chest of Emil Reece. He tucks it back infield looking for Ben Whiteman. Whiteman fires it down the right-hand side, picks out Brady, but he's offside. And so a free kick to Aston Villa once again, this time more like the midway point of their own half, taken short by Digne, back of the square for Mings, and he plays it out to Cash, who's immediately seeing the space closed down by Mads Brugge. But Villa again very neatly play round the press and work it up to Jacob Ramsey just shy of the halfway line.
Yeah, they're so comfortable on the ball, and there's just triangles everywhere. You know, people rotating, which I think makes it even harder for Preston with regards to staying with players. Players have that freedom as well, but there's so much space out wide, and like I said, with regards to how narrow this Preston team is, they do look as if they're saying to Villa, right, get it out wide, we'll defend the crosses, and they've done it well so far.
Villa haven't lost an FA Cup quarter-final that they participated in since the 1991-92 season, where they ended up losing to the eventual winners Liverpool. And they're coming forward again with Rashford down the right wing. And it comes off the back of Andrew Hughes, and Villa get a second corner of these opening exchanges at the Bill Shankly end to our left. 0-0 the score.
Yeah, lots of early corners now for Villa, and this is what they'll want. You know, they'll want to try and get an early goal. I think coming into this game, the longer the game can stay at 0-0, the crowd can get going. It gives Preston that little bit of belief. So I think Villa, probably in the change room for the game, they've got to come out strong. They've got to try and get their early goal. And then I think it'll be quite comfortable, and it's the opposite for Preston. Stay in the game, get to half-time 0-0.
It's going to be a left-footed in-swinger, 13 minutes gone for Villa. Into the near post, headed out strongly by Will Keane. But comes back out to that far side of the field, tossed back into the area. Up goes Konsa, can't get the connection on 6 yards. Tried to apply the header. He was being watched all the way by Andrew Hughes, who probably did enough to put Ezri Konsa off, but that was a lovely swirled ball back into the area that almost found the England centre-half. 0-0.
Yeah, what a ball by Asensio with his left foot, and to be honest, Konsa has to score. You know, there's no excuses there for me. I didn't see much of a nudge, to be honest. I think he's probably taken his eye off the ball at the wrong moment, thought he scored before he has, and really for the England centre-half, that should be 1-0 Villa.
Maybe, and I'm trying to help Ezri Konsa out here a bit. Maybe the breeze took the ball or did something, because there's still balloons swirling around the pitch.
You're being super positive today, you are. I love it.
Well, you know. Strictly neutral. Boubacar Kamara, lovely ball out to Cash on the right-hand side for Villa, who can scamper over the halfway line. Meghoma goes out to engage, gets to the midway point of the Preston half, tries to play a 1-2 with Rodgers, but it is won back by Preston, but then given away straight away. Back to Boubacar Kamara. Now Rodgers plays it back to Ramsey, edge of the D, centre of the half. Plays it out to Luca Digne, left-hand side of the area. Negotiates a couple of balloons, gives it back to Jacob Ramsey. Now Digne again, left-hand corner of the box. Brady trying to prevent the ball back into the area. Now Rashford takes over and darts down this left-hand side and across Comes the challenge from Jordan Story, and Toe pokes it out for a Villa throw, 0-0. Approaching the quarter-hour mark here on Talksport in the FA Cup. Goalless between Championship Preston and Premier League Aston Villa. Two teams with very, very proud histories, particularly Villa in this competition, 7 times winners, but not since Eric Houghton in 1957. Ball cleared away for Preston up to Emil Rees. He managed to nod it infield but couldn't find his strike partner Keane. It's picked up by Yuri Tielemans. Tielemans will drift back towards the halfway line and then passes into the centre circle for Camara.
What a season he's had as well, though, Tielemans. He's been absolutely superb. Played every single minute for Villa.
And he knows what it's like to win the FA Cup. Did so with Leicester with that magical goal at Wembley. Now out to the left-hand side goes Mads Verrocchia. Plays the ball in field to Meghoma. This claims for a free kick against Meghoma. And Chris Kavanagh, the referee, is unmoved, backpedals away to the halfway line and says it's a Villa goal kick, 0-0.
Yeah, I think he's refereeing the game well. He's letting it flow. He doesn't want it to stop. And yeah, the fans will have their opinions, but I think both of the decisions so far have been good calls.
Tyrone Mings inside his own penalty area. And that penalty area to our right still in shade from the early afternoon sunshine here in Lancashire. Cash just puts his foot on the ball, plays a short 1-2 with Camara, has to work it back to Concert. There is still another high press from the home side. It's played to Tielemans at the edge of the area, rolled out to him by Martin as he knew that Andrew Hughes was right behind him. Pushing up from the back there, Andrew Hughes. Ball goes up to halfway, slightly loose touch from Rodgers, but Tielemans finds Asensio in the centre circle. Early ball up for Ramsey, who was offside, but he couldn't collect it on the turn anyway. But the flag was up on the far side of the field, and it's a free kick to Preston North End. There is VAR in operation, even though we are at a Championship stadium this afternoon, just to let you know.
I just noticed as well that I think it was Gibson, number 19 for Preston. He followed Asensio all the way in, almost to the point where he is a midfield player, and I think that's quite risky because it leaves a lot of space in behind for then the likes of Rashford to exploit that. So that's something that I'll definitely be keeping an eye on.
Former England women's striker Tash Dowie, the voice you heard just there alongside me, Ian Danter on commentary. We've played 17 minutes at Deepdale on Talksport, still goalless in this FA Cup quarter-final, and Preston have a free kick. Cornell smacks it right-footed downfield, looking to the right-hand corner of the area. Good header clear from Mings, and that allows the ball to be brought forward by Jacob Ramsey up to halfway. Tucks it infield to Tielemans. He gives it back to Ramsey, just down beneath our commentary position, with Villa attacking the Bill Shankly end to our left. That's where the massed ranks of the Holt Enders are this afternoon. Preston attacking the town end that they normally like to attack in the second half of matches, so presumably Villa won the toss and turned them around. Preston win it back in the centre circle. A chance for Stefan Torderson to run forward. He's going to go for goal ambitiously from fully 35 yards out, and the daisy cutter is well wide, and Villa have another goal kick, 0-0.
If you don't shoot, you don't score. I don't mind that at all. Have a pop. It's actually quite a good run as well by Rees. I think he's just checked the centre half and created a little bit of space. Maybe could have slipped him in, but I don't mind that at all.
Villa coming forward again. It is Morgan Rodgers twisting and turning into the box. Finally, the toe in from Lewis Gibson won the ball back at the critical moment, just as Rodgers was going to make the space inside the area to get a shot away.
And this is where Preston are going to have to be brave. There's going to be lots of situations throughout the game where there's going to be 1v1 situations, and you have to be brave enough and believe in yourself that you can take that situation on. And so far, Preston 1v1 have defended very well.
You're listening to Preston North End 0, Aston Villa 0 in the FA Cup on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. It's 18 plus. Please drink responsibly.
That's something that they have to do better, though, just there. Rees, big number 9, he's won pretty much every flick on so far, and there's no one gambling. Keane has to get closer to his partner there, because there are opportunities that they can make maybe a half chance, maybe into a better chance.
Villa coming forward at 0-0 with Matty Cash over the halfway line. Just stops once he gets 20 yards inside Preston territory. Tucked in field via Camara to Tielemans. And he's faced up by Rees, so he'll play it left out to Luca Digne on this near side for Aston Villa. Midway point of the Preston half. Digne, lovely little ball in field for Ramsey, who goes down under pressure. And he was fouled there by Jordan Story. Another free kick to Aston Villa in a dangerous place. It's further to the left of centre than the previous free kick they had, but maybe a tad closer in, maybe 25 yards out. But again, Marcus Rashford will fancy this at 0-0.
Yeah, and if Story hadn't have got that tackle in there, I think Digne is through. So again, not a great situation to give a free kick away, but I think the other situation would have been even more dangerous. So I think Rashford had a go at this last time. Whether or not they'll let him have another go, the last effort wasn't that impressive, and there's definitely players around it that can have a pop here.
Well, the last time there was a Villa wall trying to obscure the Preston wall. Not this time. There's 3 Preston players standing in that wall, 2 or 3 yards inside the 18-yard line. Now Villa players go and stand next to it. Mings and Camara and Ramsey are standing there. Once again, Rashford looks favourite, but Digne hasn't moved away from the ball this time, so he might fancy a strike at goal from the slightly more difficult angle. Cornell standing just to the left of centre on his goal line. Referee checking to make sure that all the balloons are popped. We are down to the last 2, it seems to me, that are on the pitch. So, another free kick opportunity for Aston Villa on 20 minutes. Rashford standing over it, but Digne goes for it left-footed, and it goes over the top of the crossbar and was of no danger to Di Cornell. Stays 0-0 on Talksport in the FA Cup quarter-final.
Yeah, 1 go each there, so it'll be interesting to see who takes the next one. Again, not a great effort, not even hitting the target there. Yes, you could say it was close, so it's hard to get it up and over. But I think there's 2 opportunities there that Villa probably should have done a lot better with.
So a goal kick, which Di Cornell's going to leave for his centre-half to take. Gibson gives it back to Cornell. Now Gibson again looks up, tries to drive it downfield, but just hits the backside of Marco Asensio and goes out for a goal kick. Asensio, who's been superb for Unai Emery and Aston Villa since coming in on loan, scored the 2 goals against Cardiff in round 5 that took Villa to this quarter-final. But it is still 0-0, so the pray for Preston hashtag that Adrian Durham was talking about before the game got underway, they're kind of holding their own, Preston.
Yeah, they are. They must have heard you with your positive chat before. But no, absolutely, I think it is great, and you have to stay in the game. Half time, get in at 0-0. You can get a set piece. There might be one mistake. Aston Villa might slip up, and that's where you pounce. But I think so far defensively they've looked really strong. The structure looks good. You can see players know what they want to be doing, what they've been told to do. They're all working hard. Yeah, and I like what I see, and it's going to be, not an easy game. You said it before the game. I think if Villa score, then I think it changes the outlet of the game. But if they can stay this at 0-0 for as long as possible, then I think it's going to be a closer game.
In case you're wondering whether the pitch is a leveller, it's not. Tash, when she came to sit beside me in the commentary box, almost the first thing you mentioned was how good you thought the pitch looked.
Oh, stunning. Absolutely stunning.
Ball's worked back to Emiliano Martinez inside his 6-yard box. Almost passed it straight to Emil Rees, but it did work its way out to Villa's left-back Luca Digne. Back for Mings. No press this time from the home side, as Mings is allowed to bring it to the midway point of his own half. Then Rees comes across almost half-heartedly to close down the space.
Just watching as well, Marcus Rashford, he's done so well off this left-hand side, and he's been finding a lot of joy. Now playing in that number 9 role, I'm not saying he's not enjoying it as much, but he's had very little touch, very little involvement. And I've just been watching his body language. He's been a little bit frustrated the last few minutes.
Well, he might have a chance here, because Digne's got away down the left-hand side, intended to find Rashford with the ball in field, but Preston intercepted. Good little flick out from Torderson to Brady. Works it up to halfway, and Rees gives it back to Brady. And a first-time ball was looking for Frocchia in the centre circle, but it was hit behind the on-running midfielder, and Villa can tidy up. Midway point of the first half. Goalless in the FA Cup, live on Talksport. Don't forget, keep on this frequency, and you'll get Bournemouth against Manchester City in the final quarter-final, and the draw is made before that quarter-final as well. So Bournemouth and Manchester City will find out who their potential semi-final opponents are. Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace made it through yesterday, live on Talksport. Preston coming forward down the left with Frocchia. Across comes Konsa. Very neatly done by Esri Konsa. Didn't just whack it out of play. Knew he could get himself between man and ball. Controlled it. and drew the foul, which wins Villa a free kick, 0-0.
Yeah, and that's the difference between the top players and the way that the modern game has just evolved. You know, back in the day, it would be literally boot it into row Z as far as you can, but these modern day players now, they just believe so much in themselves, the composure on the ball, and like you said, he's a top centre half, and that's just top defensive play, to be honest. Wins himself a good free kick, and now his team can settle and regroup.
180 minutes for England this week. I think that says quite a lot about what Thomas Tuchel thinks about him. Esri Konsa. Of course, Tyrone Mings alongside him also has an England career that he would like to resurrect now he's back fully fit again from injury. Ball's out of play for a Villa throw right next to the dugouts. Paul Heckingbottom scribbling down some notes. Unai Emery with a power stance with the legs wide apart, stood at the edge of his technical area as the ball's won back by Lewis Gibson. Fires it up to Will Keane, trying to keep possession for Preston, while Whiteman keeps it. Torderson on the far left hand side, but Preston are finding it very difficult to find gaps in which to thread the ball. Ball's gone back to Cornell, this keeper who would not have expected to play today, but due to the serious injury to Freddie Woodman, and we wish him well, we gather it could be a season-ending injury for Freddie Woodman. Fired out by Gibson for Jada McHomer. Takes the ball down on his chest. Neatly done by McHomer. Might have a run at camera here. Goes on the outside of him. He's got support from Throkia on that far side of the field. Now he's taken on Matty Cash, going for the corner flag. But again, great defending. This time from Matty Cash. Once again, gets himself between man and ball. The ball just trickles over the dead ball line, and the danger passes. Goal kick, 0-0.
Yeah, it's a shame because it's actually lovely play there by Preston. Big switch play out to Magoman. Really positive with his 1v1, but then I think decision making has to be better. You go past one player, turn out, recycle the ball, but instead he wants to have a go at the second player, and Matty Cash is just too good in those defensive 1v1.
I've just noticed Esri Konsa's decided to, it must be that warm out there, he's got rid of the light blue skin he had underneath his claret and blue shirt, so he took his shirt off. When did you get booked for that?
It's a beautiful day today.
It is a lovely day today in Lancashire, but a little breezy, but all the balloons have disappeared, thankfully.
For now.
Yeah. They may be back, lying dormant, waiting to strike again. Here's Emiliano Martinez for Villa at 0-0. We played 26 minutes on Talksport. Just ahead of his own 18-yard line, clips the ball out to Cash, who couldn't make any further inroads down that right-hand side. The space was closed down by Throkia. Cash has it again. Good little run on the outside of him by Boubacar Kamara. And Kamara shows good strength on the far side of the field, but he's been dispossessed, and Throkia works it in field to Torderson. Torderson dwelt on the ball too long, allowed Asensio to nick it off him. Now Villa coming forward. Tielemans goes down under pressure from Keane. Free kick and a yellow card for Will Keane for that challenge on Yuri Tielemans, 0-0.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, probably Keane's first foul, but I just think it's the amount of fouls that the Preston players have done exactly like that. You know, Aston Villa are away there, a really dangerous attack, outnumbering the Preston defence, and then they've been taken down. And again, you could say it's a professional foul, but I think probably there's been 4, 5, 6, and now Keane's been punished for it.
Yellow card for the Preston number 7, and a free kick for Villa, pretty much right in the centre of the Preston half. So options to go right or left here, unless Rashford fancies having a crack at goal here. It's fully 35, nearly 40 yards from goal, you would say, Tash.
Yeah, it is. I think it's, I say it's too far to have a go, but Rashford seems confident today. He seems to be wanting to get on these efforts. But I tell you what, out of the two managers, Heckingbottom is definitely going to be the happier. I don't think Unai Emery will be very happy with the performance after these 28 minutes. I don't really think Cornell has had a save to make, and really that's not good enough with the starting 11 that they've got out there today. No,
one effort that was straight at him. So Rashford with this free kick, he is going to have a go from distance, and it hits his own player Mings at the edge of the area and drifts behind for a goal kick to Preston. So that's 3 free kicks that Marcus Rashford has had in this first half, and he's not connected with any of them the way he would like. Ball's back at the edge of the Preston area, a bit of a awkward first touch for Lewis Gibson, but he managed to get it fired downfield. Mings heads it away, but Emil Rees picks up the loose ball. Across came Cash, but it breaks for Torderson, centre of the Villa half. Torderson works it out to Brady on this near side, the right, 10 yards from the dead ball line. Clips the ball into the far post. Martinez clears it away, headed back in by Torderson, wide of the post from Stefan Torderson. Throkia headed it back across the 6-yard line, Torderson caught underneath the ball somewhat, couldn't direct the header the way he wanted, but that was a bit of a nervous moment at the back for the Premier League side. Preston 0, Aston Villa 0.
Torderson's got to score there. You know, really, you've got to at least hit the target, and it's brilliant play there by Brady. Cuts in on his left foot and puts in a great ball. Keeper just gets a hand to it, but then they keep it alive, put it back into the danger area, and Torderson is unmarked to not even hit the target there. It's not good enough, but I tell you what a moment. They could have gone 1-0 up there, and that's definitely lifted the crowd.
But it remains goalless as we approach the half-hour mark here at Deepdale. Ian Danter and Tash Dowie with you, sat towards the back of the Sir Tom Finney stand. The Invincibles Pavilion is opposite us, that single tier stand that denotes that extraordinary season where Preston went unbeaten towards the end of the 1800s and also won the FA Cup that season without conceding a single goal en route to winning the trophy. They did win it again just before the Second World War, 1938, and as you heard in our opening montage, it's their first quarter-final in this competition since 1966. They've got some defending to do here because Villa are attacking down the right-hand side with Morgan Rogers being held up by Gibson. Plays it back for Cash. Gets a shout of man on from all the Villa fans behind the goal as Emil Rees came thundering in behind him. Played across to the left and Tyrone Mings. Diagonal ball into the box looking for Rogers. Headed half clear for Preston. Frökjær tries to help it further towards the halfway line. Boubacar Kamara cleverly locks it over his head, and Cash tries to drive it in near post. Good defending by Preston North End to divert it behind for a corner kick. I think it was Andrew Hughes that got the vital foot in. Suddenly Cash was in behind, 0-0.
Yeah, and it was a vital block. It really was. He was at full stretch there, and that could have easily actually gone in as an own goal.
Asensio takes the corner quickly, tries to catch out Cornell at his near post, but Cornell was actually bailed out by Ben Whiteman in the 6-yard box, who was alive to what Asensio was trying to do.
Clever play. Wow. Clever play there by Asensio, and he's nearly scored an absolute wonder goal straight from the corner kick.
He'll have this corner kick again, but this time it's played underneath the crossbar and punched out by Cornell for another corner. Elected not to catch it. There wasn't really anybody around him, Di Cornell, but he thought, no, I'm going to get two fists to this and get it behind for another corner.
Yeah, they're just definitely trying to put the pressure on him. They know that he's probably lacking that experience in this kind of pressurised games.
Another left-footed in-swinger from Asensio into the near post, headed out by Brady this time for Preston. Cash collects the ball right-hand side by the corner of the penalty area. Faced up by McHomer, has to roll it back for Asensio, who's backpedaling towards the halfway line and then gives it back to Digne on halfway. He thought about going all the way back to his goalkeeper, and in the end he does, and that gets a round of applause from the locals.
Yeah,
0-0.
Absolutely, it's brilliant. It really is by Preston. All the players, you know, they're setting the trap. When the first one goes, the second one goes. And like I said, you know, the first we're into 32 minutes of this game. Really, it's been a top performance, professional performance, more mentally than anything, Ian, with regards to that. It's just about keeping switched on mentally. Physically, actually, it probably not as hard. It's more about shifting, keeping that structure.
Given away by Ramsey on halfway, and Frökjær works his way to the middle of the Villa half. Torderson just to his left receives it now. McHomer on the overlap left-hand side, but instead Torderson looks for Robbie Brady. Collects it on this near side, the Preston right, level with the 18-yard line. Whips a lovely ball in and headed up. And is that out for a corner from Mings? No, he's prevented the corner with a second header. But then Digne loses out to Robbie Brady, who's kept it in place superbly. Hooks it back in field for Whiteman. Tucks it back for Story. And then across the halfway line for Lewis Gibson, and gives it back to the goalkeeper, 0-0.
I'll tell you what, Brady's whipped in crosses here on the right hand side and his left foot have been a number 9's dream. They need to get it out to him more. That's a real weapon for them, and especially with the big number 9 Rees in there. Keane, we know that he's got an eye for goal as well. They need to find Brady more here.
It is an unnatural position for Robbie Brady, playing on the right hand side with his, but that natural left foot works for those whipped centres into the area. 33 minutes gone on Talksport in the FA Cup quarter-final. Preston North End 0, Aston Villa 0. And the ball's played out to Jada McHomer on the left-hand side. And more encouragement from the home fans, asking McHomer to charge down that left-hand side. He's held up by Morgan Rogers, so plays it backward a square to Ben Whiteman. Ball's on halfway. Preston in possession. Again, they look for Robbie Brady, but Whiteman's ball this time is, well, I'm not really sure what he was trying to do. It wasn't hit directly. It was sort of hit curled, but went comfortably over the dead ball line after one bounce for a Villa goal kick. 0-0.
Yeah, I tell you what, Preston are finishing this half really strong. I think if you're looking and watching this game, body language-wise, the Preston players look full of confidence. They look like they've got a real spring in their step. I look around at the Aston Villa team, and right now I think they look frustrated.
Well, they've been away for warm weather training in the UAE. Have Aston Villa had 4 days out there, I believe, as they had no fixture to worry about during international break. And sometimes there's the argument, there's the perceived wisdom that a team comes back from that refreshed and ready to fight, or there's the team that comes back from that and isn't quite at it.
Enjoying the sun a bit too much, maybe. No, but I think definitely changes will be made. I don't think Rashford looks happy in this number 9 role, so I think potentially second half you might see him back out on the left-hand side and some tweaks made there. Watkins
is on the bench for Villa this afternoon. Rodgers making a run down the right-hand side. Back comes McHomer and makes a great challenge. It looked like Rodgers was away, but the pace of the Brentford loanee got in front of Rodgers and toe-poked the ball behind in the end for yet another Villa corner to our left-hand side, 0-0.
Yeah, Rodgers, I actually think potentially he didn't realise Magoma was there, whether or not he didn't take the picture quick enough, but really he should have been away there. He had at least a yard on him and should have got a shot away, but yeah, good defending by the Preston fullback.
So Asensio with this corner where the Bill Shankly end meets the Invincibles stand, and it's driven along the deck into the near post. Whether that was Asensio's intention or not, it didn't find a Villa shirt, and it's brought away by Hughes for Preston. Looks to release Emil Rees down the left-hand side. The ball's sent down that left channel, but Martinez is watching it all the way, pretends to clear it, and then just lets it trickle past him for a goal kick, 0-0.
Yeah, it's a shame, because it's actually a really nice run by the centre-forward Rees. You know, he times it really well, runs along the line and then dips in behind the centre-half, and it's just a poorly executed pass in behind.
You mentioned before kick-off that they had the most accurate long balls per game in the Championship this season. Rashford giving chase down the right-hand side of the area from a long ball for Villa, and he's collected it. And he's got Jordan Storey jockeying in for position. He's out on the right-hand side by the corner flag. Rolls it back to Matty Cash. Gets the ball in his left foot. Tries to put the ball into the air for Ramsey. Headed up and half cleared by Brady. Further headed clear by Keane, who's back defending. But Rodgers picks up the loose ball and finds Tielemans in the centre of the half. Digne in plenty of space. Left-hand side of the area. Tries to play it in, and it's blocked behind for another corner by the sliding challenge of Robbie Brady. 0-0.
They've done so well in those positions. You know, they really have. Whenever it has got out wide and it's looked dangerous for Aston Villa and it looks as if they're going to create something, Preston have just got bodies in the box, outnumbered Aston Villa, and then just got blocked time after time after time.
So a corner kick on this near side, actually the first that Villa have had, where the Bill Shankly meets the Sir Tom Finney stand that we're sat in. Rashford's going to take it. Asensio's there for a short corner option next to him. Frocchio keeping an eye on Asensio if the short corner is taken. Rashford looks like he's going to send it into the box now. Another in-swinger for Di Cornell, the Preston goalkeeper, to try and deal with here. In it comes from Rashford. Onto the 6-yard line, headed up and over by Konsa, who saw the ball going almost behind him, tried to twist his neck muscles and effect a header on goal as he fell to the floor, but just went off the top of his head and behind for a Preston goal kick this time. 0-0 the score.
Yeah, half a chance there. It's a decent ball by Rashford, and actually I think probably everyone's got in a bit too early. They need to maybe have 2 or 3 that hang back, because it's actually hit a really good area, but just no one's been attacking it.
38 minutes gone at Deepdale. This is Talksport. Don't forget, breakfast back in the morning. Ali McCoist and Jeff Stelling reunited in the studio, reflecting on all the weekend sporting talking points, including the FA Cup quarterfinals and what the semi-final draw might mean. That's from 6 a.m. when you wake up tomorrow morning. Talksport breakfast with Jeff Stelling and Ali McCoist.
I think these next 5 minutes for Preston are going to be vital. You know, it's about managing the game now. You know, got 5 minutes till half-time, nothing silly.
Digne for Villa, midway point of the Preston half, drifting out to this left-hand side, controls it and works it back in field for Tielemans. Camara made a strong run from defensive midfield into the area, but not used, and Tielemans almost held out a hand of apology to his midfield partner, as if to say, sorry, I didn't use you. Camara's dropped back now and has received it just over the halfway line on the right-hand side, and Esri Konsa just takes the game down to walking pace. Everybody in Preston White is behind the ball, with the ball just ahead of the centre circle. Konsa in possession. Lots of movement from Villa, but the pass hasn't been made yet. Conser rolls it to his right for Camera. Out to Cash on the right-hand side. Tries to play a 1-2 with Rodgers, but McComa was wise to it and slid in and put the ball out of play for a Villa throw. 0-0 the score.
It's brilliant. This is all they can be doing. Villa are looking for those little 1-2s, the little quick play, but Preston are alive to it. Recovery runs, really switched on.
Manchester United's women have beaten Everton in the WSL 2-0, the full-time score at Leigh Sports Village, not too far from here. So that they've clawed back a few points against Chelsea, who play later this afternoon against West Ham United. That's a 4:30 kickoff at Kings Meadow. Here at Deepdale, Preston North End 0, Aston Villa 0 in the FA Cup quarter-final, as Jacob Ramsey makes a strong run down the left-hand side. Can he keep it in play? He can, down by the corner flag, faced up by Story. Still has it, rolls it to the left-hand corner of the area. Asensio takes a touch. He's almost closed down there by Will Keane, but sensed that Keane was coming. And now Asensio's gone again down the left-hand side to be fed by Tyrone Mings. Asensio plays the ball back to the edge of the area. He was looking for Camera, but it was cleared away by Will Keane once again. Mings, as Villa trying to hem Preston North End in here towards the end of the first half. Dina left-hand side, 5 minutes to go to the break, plus whatever Chris Kavanagh wants to add on for stoppages. There haven't been many in this first half. Most of the stoppers were popping balloons. Camera clips the ball into the air, looking for Rodgers, can't bring it down out the stars. It came over his right shoulder and just bounced through to Cornell. And what Villa haven't had quite yet, Tash Dowie, is what you would call a big chance, a gilt-edged chance.
Yeah, and they haven't done enough to create that. When they've got into really good positions out wide, the end product has been poor. Haven't been picking out players, runs into the box, haven't been with enough energy. Yeah, so to be honest, I've been disappointed with Villa this first half, but also credit to Preston. They've defended with everything.
And again, they're pressing high as Villa try and get out their own defensive third, which they do, again, quite neatly. Ramsey plays a lovely ball over halfway to Rashford, but in slid Rokia and got there first. Huge shot of man on for Jordan Story as he was almost jogging to get the ball, not realising they had Jacob Ramsey thundering in behind him. Ball's out of play for a Villa throw. Seconds tick away, 41.5 minutes gone on Talksport in the FA Cup. Still 0-0 between Championship and Premier League. And remember, Villa have got another big quarter-final to come in the Champions League against Unai Emery's old club Paris Saint-Germain to look forward to in a week and a bit's time. McComa loses out on the right-hand side to Rodgers, barreling his way into the area, but tried to find Cash, but got too much on the pass and it went straight behind for another goal kick to the hosts.
Yeah, I don't know why he's moaning at Matty Cash there. It's just a poor ball. It's a good run, but then his execution is he's hit it too hard, too straight, too far ahead of him. So I think that's him showing his frustration. There's nothing more Matty Cash could have done there. But to be honest, when I look at the 50-50 tackles, even there a minute ago with Rashford going in, Preston have wanted it more. They've been the ones that have wanted to come out first, wanted to come out second. And I think it's going to be quite a firm team talk at half-time with Unai Emery.
As my old boss said to me regularly, never underestimate the power of desire over ability. And certainly Preston have the desire to at least try and mix it with Aston Villa this afternoon. Have they got the ability to create a chance of their own? They've had a couple of half chances, Preston. Torderson with that long range effort, but dribbled wide, and then a header when decently placed when the ball, he just got underneath the ball and couldn't direct the header the way he wanted. Ball's back with Cornell, the Preston keeper, who'll be happy enough with the first half he's had since coming in as a late replacement for the injured Freddie Wooden. It clears from hands downfields toward the right-hand side of midfield. It comes off the head of Luca Dini. Will be a throw to Preston. Now, will Emil Rees want to take this as a long throw? No, he stayed in the box this time. Brady is going to take it, or is Rees now going to come across? Yeah, he is. I did wonder. And then he gets the rouge chat from the Preston supporters as Brady just drops the ball. So Emil Rees will hurl this one in. Again, it's about level with the 18-yard line. On the near side to us, the Preston right, as they attack the Alan Kelly town end in this first period, which is coming to a conclusion on Talksport. Rees's long throw onto the 6-yard line. Mings goes up, drops on the 6-yard line, half cleared by Asensio, further cleared by Rashford, but Whiteman hooks it back over his head towards the edge of the area. Keane scrapping for possession, might drop for Brady inside the area. He's still got it, Brady, out to the left-hand side. Support from Torderson, but then the offside flag goes up against the Irishman, as he collected the ball and Villa win a free kick. But it was a bit nervy as Whiteman hooked that ball back over his head towards the 18-yard line, 0-0.
Yeah, it absolutely was, and I think again it's that long throw causing mayhem in the box. But again, it's Preston wanting to win the first balls, but then being alive to the second and third balls, scrapping for absolutely everything.
Tash Dowie alongside me, Ian Danter here at Deepdale, heading into the last minute of normal time in this first half, and Keane,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Just to have fouled Esri Konsa. Now Keane's on a yellow card, we shouldn't forget, from the challenge made early in the half, and I don't think the referee's going to do anything other than give a free kick here. But Konsa is still on the ground and looking up at the referee and saying, "Come on, ref, what's going on?" He's back on his feet, but he doesn't look a happy camper, does Esri Konsa, claiming, well, there was a contact high up the leg from Will Keane as he sort of deliberately looks at his right calf and takes the short free kick back to his goalkeeper. And there goes half-time at Deepdale. Listen to those Preston fans applauding the tenacity and effort and the grit and determination that Preston have put in against their illustrious opponents in this first half. They've really reduced Aston Villa to long-range efforts. 3 free kicks from Marcus Rashford, playing as a central striker this afternoon, none of which are particularly troubled. Di Cornell coming in at the last minute to play in goal for Preston. The boos you can hear are for the referee Chris Kavanagh from the locals, who don't feel that they've been on the right end of some decisions. Couple of half chances to Preston. Stefan Torderson with both of them, a right-footed effort from distance well wide, and a header after he was set up by Mods Fronkia, which went wide when he might and maybe should have done a little better. But it's all square at the break in this FA Cup quarter-final, live on Talksport. Preston North End 0, Aston Villa 0.
Well, Preston North End may not have had a shot on target, but it doesn't matter. They have been competitive in the game. Villa have only had 1, and when you consider this list, Watmo is out, Porteous, Kessler Hayden, Greenwood, McCann, Ledson, Potts, Keeper Woodman, all out for Preston North End. It's a scratch side. Villa have gone strong. Tash Dowie, there's only one winner in that first half. It's 0-0, but Preston are the winners.
Yeah, and I think what Ian said before, the game is spot on with regards to, I think the players that have come in obviously know what to do. They know their job, and credit to them. They've done it pretty effortlessly, to be honest. I think Villa, without meaning to, have probably underestimated this Preston team. Have probably come into it thinking maybe about what they've got coming up, Champions League, thinking they've probably got the easiest team in the tie. And I tell you what, they're probably not lucky with regards to about half-time. They'll have to have a shake-up, because if this continues, I see Preston nicking a goal from these long throws, from a set piece.
Well, the other thing about that is Robbie Brady, we know, has a long career, and his left foot has shone in that career. Luca Digne basically showed him on his left foot to put a cross in that led to the Thordarson chance. I think he should have got it on target, really headed wide, but you're right, they have shown that they can get forward. This is not 10 men behind the ball and let's try and protect a 0-0 draw and go to pens. They've got a chance of actually nicking a win here.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I love the most, because you wouldn't actually blame them if they were just going to bank 11 behind the ball with regards to the players that they've got missing. But the structure, the positivity, the front two have been really pressing high, chasing lost causes. But actually then when they've won the ball, they've been brave enough to play through the thirds, brave enough to kind of find their centre forwards, brave enough with the long balls and then the quality in and around the area. And like you said, they've probably had 2 of the better chances, to be honest, in this first half. And Villa really look like players that maybe have been on their holiday a little bit. Their attitude, for me, when I look around the pitch, they don't look like they're really up for this game, and there's so much to play for.
Yeah, it's almost like they're saying, well, we're beaten Bayern Munich, this should be easy. I'm pretty sure that's not going on in their heads consciously, but maybe subconsciously it is. And let's have a word about Di Cornell. He's not had a huge amount to do. As you said, they've had 1 shot on target, Aston Villa, but he's kept a clean sheet. Paul Heckingbottom said before the game, Tash, that Di Cornell's been training like a demon all season, and so he gets this opportunity in arguably their biggest game of the season. Last time he kept a clean sheet when starting a game, May the 7th, 2022. So this has been some first half for him.
I love that, and I love when you say about training like a demon, because I think for me that's the ultimate professional. And as a keeper, it's probably one of the hardest positions with regards to playing time. You know, you have your number one and you have to be so patient, and then when you get your opportunity, take it. You know, and in those first 45 minutes I think he's looked tidy, he's made the saves he's had to make, he's been speaking and communicating well, his passing's been good, and that will do him the world of good going into the second half.
Tash Dowie, if this was Marcus Rashford in a Manchester United shirt, would be absolutely slaughtering him. Discuss.
Yeah, no, do you know what? Truthfully, I think he looks like a player right now that's been really enjoying his position on this left-hand side with Villa, a player that he's more comfortable there, where his performance has been good, he's been assisting, he's been scoring. Now he's been asked to play in a role where he has played before, but potentially maybe spitting his dummy out a little bit. You know, I don't think he's not making the runs in behind, he's not being involved enough in my opinion. Whether or not Unai Emery will change that, or whether he says, look, you know, you're playing in this role today as a number 9, you need to start making more runs, getting more involved, because he can play that number 9 role, but he doesn't look happy today. And like I said, for one of the top players in the team, he needs to be more involved if Villa are going to get something out of this game.
Indeed, Villa being held goalless at Preston in the FA Cup quarter-final, the third of 4, with the only radio station bringing you all 4 FA Cup quarter-finals this weekend. It is Talksport. Tash Dowie, former England striker, on commentary duty for Preston 0, Aston Villa 0. We'll be back to Deepdale for the second half of that. I'm here at the Vitality. The sun is still shining, the sky still blue ahead of Bournemouth against Man City. We'll look forward to that in just a few moments. Let me fill you in on the results in the Women's Super League. Man United beat Everton 2-0 to go second, and in the later games, 20 minutes in, Arsenal lead at Palace 1-0. Beth Mead after 14 minutes after their heroics. Arsenal in the Champions League in midweek against Real Madrid, they lead away to Palace. It's goalless in the 3 other games that have kicked off this afternoon in the WSL. Let's focus on the game that's coming up here at the Vitality after Preston Villa on Talksport. It is exclusive commentary of the 4th and final FA Cup quarter-final as Bournemouth host City. We'll hear from Pep Guardiola shortly, but first, Cherries boss Andoni Iraola.
Yeah, the draw we cannot change it. It's true that I said it to you. I didn't like the draw because if you can choose, you definitely don't choose City. But once the draw is finished, is what we have. I hope we give the level or close to the level we gave that day, because I think we played very well that day, and is the only way to have a chance. If we are not at our close to our very best level, it's going to be very difficult. We know that.
How important is this competition? So, all one is so nice, the FA Cup. So that's why we took seriously, like we took in the past the Carabao Cup, winning 4 in a row. So could not be otherwise, you know. So it's what you have to do. The results we don't know, but take seriously is what you have to do. And of course, with the season we have, to come back to Wembley to play a semi-final, to try to reach, the final would be nice.
Pep Guardiola there at Bournemouth, of course, without 2 of their mainstays in this team that's played so well and entertained us this season. Hussein at centre-back and Kirkes at full-back, both missing from the game this afternoon. But it's Man City. They can be beaten and have been beaten many times this season. Bournemouth, Manchester City, live and exclusive later, only here on Talksport. Jeff Stelling and Ali McCoy with you for breakfast from 6 a.m. on Talksport tomorrow morning. It's Alan Brazil and Coisty on Wednesday morning, when their special guest will be the band Simple Minds. So don't you forget about that. Wednesday breakfast from 6 a.m. on Talksport. Half-time at Deepdale, all square. Preston 0, Aston Villa 0. Who wants to book their place at Wembley and an FA Cup semi-final? Second half coming next.
The Emirates Sunday session on Talksport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever the mission, home or away, Enterprise helps over 120,000 people every day.
The MCN and BikerTech team are back with a new video series, Secrets of Better Riding. A new episode every week on the Motorcycle News YouTube channel and BikerTech website.
So your throttle is massively influential on the weight of the bike and the feel of the bike. And with that, you can create grip and you can inadvertently take grip away.
Secrets of Better Riding, in association with BikerTech and National Highways. Catch the whole series at bikertech.co.uk.
It's hidden where Jade convinced you to go in goal because Harry dropped out last minute. But in hindsight, I'm kind of glad Harry had the flu, because without this place, we wouldn't be friends. That's where I've hidden it.
With the Cadbury Worldwide Hide, You can hide an Easter egg online for someone you love. You just need to give them a clue of where to look, somewhere only they know. Search online for the Cadbury Worldwide Hide. UK 18+, T's and C's apply.
At Asda, you don't need a loyalty card to get our great prices. By switching from Morrison's to Asda, you could save over 20% on a selected basket of Mother's Day products. With lower prices on big lines like Prosecco Spumante 75cl for just £6.24 compared to £8.25 at Morrison's, and Ferrero Rocher 24-pack for £5.98 versus £8 at Morrison's. That's a difference you can pocket. That's Asda price. Compared online 27th of March. Includes promotional prices. Offer ends from 30th of March. Verification, terms and conditions and products details. Visit asda.com/price-comparison.
Apply gambleware.org. CEF. Ever wondered who we are? Well, we have over 400 branches across the UK and Ireland. We're online, in-app, and our CEF catalogue is your go-to for everything electrical. We have over 3,500 experts to help with any electrical queries, and we stock over 44,000 electrical products, from power tools and cables to renewables. So, if you didn't know who we are, you do now. CEF. Your electrical experts.
Join Midnight Casino and discover a whole new world! With hot slots, jackpots, live casino roulette, and blackjack at the ready. Come and play your way. Get 100 free spins when you spend £20 on eligible games. Search Midnight Casino or download the Midnight app today. Midnight. Casino done better. You decide. New customers only. Reward restrictions and T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to another spectacular match day, but what's this? Looks like the fans are playing Coral's free reward shaker. The half and half scarfers shaking decisively for once. They backed a super boost. Next to them, the prawn sandwich brigade. Oh, they've shaken up a free bet after that free lunch. Play Coral's free reward shaker to win guaranteed daily rewards and offers this season. Coral, we're here for it.
18+ UK. Max 1 reward or offer per player per day. Reward restrictions, requirements and T's and C's apply. GambleAware.org.
Keep your finger on the pulse and stay connected with all the latest football news every Monday afternoon at Drive on Talksport with 3. Group Chat Goals is your essential update of all the weekend's football action, drama and hot topic talking points blowing up your socials. From the fast-paced on-field action to the backroom bust-ups, Talksport's got it covered. Don't miss Group Chat Goals at Drive on Talksport with 3. Football needs a big network. Keep connected to the team you love on 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, this Wednesday, Talksport and Talksport 2 will bring you not 1, not 2, but 3 live and exclusive Premier League matches, all kicking off at 7:45 of the PM.
Brighton versus Aston Villa on Talksport.
I don't believe it!
Manchester City versus Leicester on Talksport 2.
What a comeback!
And Southampton versus Crystal Palace on the Talksport app.
Smashing finish!
Make your choice or randomly flick through all 3 on the Talksport app. It's up to you, Buster.
Game day. The unstoppable force of live football. FA Cup Game Day live on Talksport.
Yeah, it is Talksport. Let's take a look at the halftime highlights in partnership with Carling.
Emirates FA Cup half-time highlights on Talksport with Carling. Brilliantly refreshing from the first sip to the last. 18+. Always drink responsibly.
And Preston get us underway on Talksport as our FA Cup double bill starts. Brady on this near side, the right, 10 yards from the dead ball line. Clips the ball into the far post. Martinez clears it away, headed back in by Torderson. Wide of the post from Stefan Torderson. Here he is, Rashford, with the free kick. Around the wall, but straight at the keeper. And Guy Cornell's first action in goal for Preston is to comfortably hold on to that free kick, 0-0.
Whenever it has got out wide and it's looked dangerous for Aston Villa and it looks as if they're going to create something, Preston have just got bodies in the box, outnumbered Aston Villa, and then just got blocked time after time after time.
0-0 at half-time then. The big action, the decisive action still to come. That was thanks to Carling.
Emirates FA Cup half-time highlights on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18+. Always drink responsibly.
Next week, midweek evenings are packed on Talksport. Tomorrow night, it's me, Darren Lewis, Danny Murphy in the studio with Football Chat. Tuesday night, massive night of football where I'll be based at the Premier League game between Forest and Manchester United to take you around the grounds and bring you all the goals as they go in. Also that night in the Premier League, Wolves, West Ham and Arsenal against Fulham. Pretty much a full programme in League One and in League Two as well, so plenty to keep you in touch with all evening. Home straight in the EFL as far as the end of season is concerned. Wednesday we've got live exclusive commentaries for you. Brighton Villa's not on UK TV, it is live and free on Talksport, and it's our 350th live commentary of the season. Man City against Leicester live on Talksport 2, Southampton against Crystal Palace live on the Talksport app, so make sure you've got that on your phone or tablet. I'll host the show on Wednesday night live from Anfield. It's the Merseyside derby, Liverpool Everton. Join me from 7. And Thursday we're bringing you a live exclusive commentary of Chelsea against Spurs on Talksport. Hugh Wizencroft, your host for that, from 7. It is a big week of football coming up, as always, on the biggest sports radio station in the world, Talksport. What's a second half we've got in store? Palace and Forest into the semis already. Bournemouth Man City to come later, live and exclusive only on Talksport. But could this be the shock that no one saw coming? Preston 0, Aston Villa 0, second half, live on Talksport with someone who scored a last-minute winner in an FA Cup final, Tash Dowie, alongside Ian Danta.
Thanks, Adrian. Both teams back out in the Lancaster sunshine, ready for the second half. Picture perfect afternoon for football. I'll remind you of the lineups here. Preston, who was pretty much a scratch side that Paul Heckinbottom's put out here today because of injury, suspensions and ineligibility. Di Cornell is the goalkeeper. You've got Robbie Brady as a right wing back, Jaden McHomer as left wing back, Jordan Storey, Andrew Hughes, Lewis Gibson as 3 centre halves, Ben Whiteman, Stefan Torderson and Mads Farrugia in midfield, Emil Rees and Will Keane up top. For Villa, Emiliano Martinez in goal, Mati Cash, Esri Konsa, Tyrone Mings, Luca Digne back four, Boubacar Camara, Yuri Tielemans holding, Morgan Rogers, Marco Asensio, Jacob Ramsey in behind Marcus Rashford. And I see no changes at half-time from either manager, Tash. So we were talking about the potential for what could happen with Marcus Rashford. Would he be shifted back left and Watkins brought on? Not yet is the answer to that question.
Not yet, and I think he's probably said, right, I'm going to give you 5-10 minutes and then potentially changes will be made. So giving the players a chance, and straight away you can see Rashford's made that run in behind, showed a bit more energy there, what we'd expect of him.
Ball's back with Di Cornell. Preston now attacking the Bill Shankly end to our left-hand side. That's where the Villa fans are, that the Preston players will be attacking in the second half. We're sat towards the back of the Sir Tom Finney stand. And Villa in their claret and blue will be attacking the Alan Kelly town end to our right. Preston in their usual home strip of white shirts and socks with the dark blue shorts. Villa in the claret and blue. And Arsenal's women are 2-0 up at Crystal Palace now. Alessia Russo scores again in the WSL for the Gunners to add to Beth Mead's opener. Now here's Robbie Brady putting Digne under pressure early in the second half. It was an awkward touch that Digne had to make from a ball fired out to him. Did the best he could, and Villa have won a throw in the end left-hand side. Preston have lost 18 of the last 19 FA Cup ties they've played against top-flight opposition, and only one win in 15 against Aston Villa in all competitions. They did meet quite a few times in recent years during Villa's championship stint. First meeting since Villa won promotion back to the Premier League, and here they are on the cusp of a Champions League quarter-final against the might of Paris Saint-Germain. But this is what's in front of them right now, a tricky cup tie at Deepdale, where they have not given the account of themselves that Unai Emery would have wanted at all the fans away to our left in that Bill Shankly end.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that it's going to be the bench that's going to win this game for Villa today if they are going to win. And I think that's going to be the big difference between these two teams. Yeah, in the positions that they're in right now, is that yes, even if Preston can stay in the game, bench-wise, they probably only have one player.
Well, Villa have just been awarded a corner. Robbie Brady saying, I never touched the ball, as the ball was floated down the Villa left-hand side. Brady just trying to protect it behind, but Chris Kavanagh incurring the wrath of the locals once again by saying that's a Villa corner.
Yeah, it didn't look like a corner to me.
So it will be Rashford to take this corner. There's a clutch of players around the edge of the area, like bees around a honeypot. They're just all clustered together in both claret and blue and white shirts. Ball's played out short to the left-hand side. Luca Digne gives it back to Rashford. Swirling cross. It's hit too deep, is it? Rogers trying to keep it in play. Falls to the ground. Can't prevent it going behind. Claims for a penalty. Nothing doing. And now he's slowly getting to his feet, having picked up a bit of a knock. And Preston end up having a goal kick. 0-0 on Talksport in the FA Cup quarter-final in the early stages of this second half. Tash Dowie.
Yeah, I really struggle to understand that sometimes with regards to you get an early corner. Probably height-wise you fancy Villa. You've got numbers in the box and then you tend to go short and overcomplicate things, and then the ball's poor in the end, and then you're wasting such a good opportunity.
Ben Whiteman in the centre circle for Preston. Fires it into the feet of Rees, but it's a ball that he can't control. Mings tucks it back to Martinez, the Villa keeper. Clears first time up to halfway. Rashford loses out in the header to Lewis Gibson, and it drops for Frocchia just over the halfway line. But in bringing it down out of the sky, presented the ball straight to Matty Cash. Now Villa trying to attack, and Asensio trying to release Rashford through that inside left channel. But again, there was a Preston leg there to intercept and stop the attack coming to anything.
Yeah, and that's what Preston defence have done so well, is that they've read the danger early. And they've got that little toe in that little leg that potentially then, the centre forward could have been away there, and they've done that so well. But like I said, if things don't start to change in the next 5-10 minutes, I think Unai Emery with the likes of McGinn, Watkins, changes will be made, and they've got players that can come on and change the game. And like I said, Preston are really struggling on the bench. They're very light, so they're going to rely on this 11 to really get them through.
Preston have been given a free kick. You could probably tell because of the huge roar that's greeted it as Tielemans just had a bit of a nibble at Stefan Torderson, and the locals feel that a bit of justice has been done their way. But the free kick is only 15-20 yards inside the Villa half to the right hand side, and Villa holding their defensive line ahead of the 18-yard box. Keane and Rees are of course going to be targets here. Centre halves have come forward. Torderson looks favourite to strike it, but we've seen with Robbie Brady, Tash Dowie, already in this game, the quality of his delivery from that right hand side has been excellent.
Absolutely. I'll be disappointed if he didn't take it and whip it in with his left foot.
Well, it is Brady that's going to take it. Torderson's moved away. Brady actually rolls it short into the centre of the field for Whiteman, who tries to float it back out to Brady, headed away. Bit of a waste from Preston, but they've kept possession. Rees, right-hand corner of the area, can't get past Digne. Ball half cleared by Villa, but again Whiteman tidies up and ships it out to Brady, right-hand side. Taking on Ramsey, he's got Digne there as well. Tries to backheel it to find his teammate Frocchia. And it does make its way through to Brady, and Frocchia, right-hand side of the area, tries to pull it back. Might drop for Rees, but Boubacar Kamara steps in the nick of time for Aston Villa to take it away from the Preston striker.
Yeah, brilliant defending there, but again, Preston on the front foot, winning it back, stepping high, really, and allowing them to create another chance.
Didn't they? Really got themselves in tenaciously, one possession back. Jada McComa on loan from Brentford, out on this left-hand side for Preston as they attack the Bill Shankly end. Bill Shankly was a player last time Preston won the FA Cup in 1938. And Sir Tom Finney, whose stand we're sat in, he just signed as a youth player for Preston around that time.
Great history, and I've got to admit it's my first time here and the atmosphere has been electric.
Now Rees on a run down the right-hand side. He's picked up a lovely ball from Brady. Down the right-hand side of the area. Keane's in the area with him. Goes on the outside of Konsa. Plays it across the face of goal. It's over the head of Will Keane. And Cash came across from fullback and got it clear. Just not enough bodies in the box for Preston there. 0-0.
Took the word straight out of my mouth. Such a shame, because it is a beautiful ball. Just literally almost like a chip, like in golf. Held it up, asking for someone to come on and attack it, and there's no one in there.
Talksport FA Cup quarter-finals. 2 already decided yesterday. You heard them live with us as Crystal Palace got past Fulham and Forest needed penalties to see off Brighton. Manchester City travel to Bournemouth later. That's live and exclusive on Talksport at 4:30 after we're done here. Villa on the charge. Rodgers running through the centre of the field. Beats one challenge. Finds Rashford in the area. Ball gets stuck under his feet. Tries to score, and Cornell gets enough on it and pounces on the loose ball. And Rashford denied by the stand-in Preston keeper. 0-0.
Well done, Cornell. I tell you what, that is a big, big save. It was 3v3 and a couple of little scrappy ricochets where it fell to Rashford in the end, and I thought that was actually a bit lucky. But then the keeper stands big, gets a really good block, and again he's been absolutely superb.
It looked to me like Rodgers, it wasn't really running at full pace. Story was able to get back goal side of him, didn't get the challenge right, so Rodgers kind of kept possession scrappily, but And then Rashford just couldn't sort his feet out when the ball was presented to him inside the box. But as you say, credit Cornell, had to make the save and did.
He did, but there's been a couple of moments in the first half that I don't think Rodgers has been moving as smoothly as we've seen him move. So that's something to keep an eye on.
0-0. Jayden McComber shows too much of that to Asensio. Then Asensio fouls his man because he took his eye off the ball as he was trying to control it, as the ball was rolled to him by McComber. And after he took his eye off the ball, it trickled under his boot. And then he fouled his man. Free kick taken quickly by Preston, but that's a waste. Reece was trying to guide a header down to Keane, but couldn't find him. I wonder, I mean, we're talking about Villa's bench, Natasha.
Yeah.
But I wonder whether Paul Heckingbottom is thinking about the controversial Milutin Osmaic, who's scored a hatful of goals this season, but he's had a checkered season with incidents that have followed him around this season. I wonder how long before he deploys him from the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, I wouldn't change a thing. I think they look really strong.
Okay.
I think they're performing well, but I mean, 20 minutes to go, 0-0. You know, he's got a goal in him, so absolutely, why not bring him on? But so far, I've been really impressed with the starting 11.
53 minutes gone on Talksport in the FA Cup quarter-final. Preston 0, Aston Villa 0. Header from Camera, and Whiteman's gone down holding his head, but the referee hasn't spotted it as Rashford's breaking away down the right-hand side of the area. Rashford trying to get the ball onto his left foot. It's blocked away. Rashford gets it back, and now the referee has been told there's a head injury for Ben Whiteman and stop play. So it'll be an uncontested drop ball once play restarts. But the Preston fans around it, you could hear it, how upset they were that play wasn't stopped straight away when Boubacar Camera and Ben Whiteman collided. 0-0.
Yeah, they're definitely letting themselves be heard today. But I've got to admire Preston and the way that the players are getting bodies behind the ball. You know, every time Villa look like they've got half a chance, that they've got a dangerous attack, you see the Preston players absolutely sprinting with all their might to get back, to defend, helping each other out. And, you know, so far so good.
Well, there's Villa and Preston players warming up on the far side of the field. Whiteman doesn't need any treatment, so it will be an uncontested drop ball that will give the ball back to Villa, midway point of the Preston half. Camera rolls it right for Cash. Cash faced up by the defender, gets inside. Hughes drives it into the area, headed up by Whiteman. Where's that going to drop? 6-yard line, but Tielemans' header guided out to the left-hand side of the box. Finds nobody in their claret and blue shirt. And Brady knows he can just let that go behind for a Preston goal kick. 0-0.
Yeah, I think Villa just need a little bit of extra quality. And I think that's where you need to bring on the likes of McGinn. I think his experience, you know, one of the older, more mature players, but from a set piece as well. I'd love to see him get involved. And then bring Watkins on. You know, he's got a goal. You know, the longer you leave this game at 0-0, it can become quite a dangerous thing.
0-0 here in the WSL. Brighton 0, Manchester City 1. Kirsten Kasperaj putting Manchester City ahead at Brighton. Here is Robbie Brady trying to muscle his way in field for Preston. Just tries to beat one man too many. And the ball's back with Villa and Cash. Camera flicks it back to Concert at the edge of his own penalty area. Preston have got their 5-man shape back almost instantly that they've lost the ball. And they're not, as you said right at the start of the game, Tash, they're trying not to drop too deep. They're trying to compress the space as much as they can. And that's why Rashford probably needs to be making more of those runs in behind.
He absolutely does. The gaps are there in the channels to be made.
Well, here's a ball won back by Cash, and he'll get it back down the right-hand side. He's in a race with McHomer, but McHomer again gets to the ball first and puts it out of play for a throw, to the delight of those around us in the stadium.
He's an athlete, isn't he? You know, there's not many getting past him. He's got some real pace, and that's where I think as well, with the back five, it gives Preston that little bit of extra cover. And I think that's worked really well for them, made them look defensively very strong so far.
Throw into Villa. Cash works the ball into the box, but again it goes behind. Cornell just lets it bounce over the dead ball line for another Preston goal kick. Preston last made round 5 in 2015 as a League One side against Manchester United and lost. That's the furthest they've got in recent times. Simon Grayson, with a connection to both clubs, was the manager there. He's now out in the Nepalese Super League coaching, is our friend Simon.
I think the thing that I'm excited to see is that the longer the game does go on at 0-0, there's more at stake then. Are Preston still brave enough then to have a go? You know, and I think that's what I hope they continue to play that the way they're playing.
Now on halfway, Ramsey dispossessed, but the ball will break for Asensio in the centre circle. Gives it back to Jacob Ramsey. Early ball to Digne inside the area, left-hand side. Rashford gets his first goal for Aston Villa, and it puts them ahead in the FA Cup quarter-finals. He's waited a long time to break his duck for his new club, but he was right place, right time, right in front as Digne broke down the left-hand side of the box, rolled it across, and Rashford coolly did the rest. Villa take the lead. It's Preston 0, Aston Villa 1.
And that's the difference between these top teams. You know, credit to Villa. They have exploited Preston. The one moment that they've switched off in that right-back position, he's got ball watching, he's got caught ball watching. I think it was Brady that was out of position, and they've exploited it. Digne's done brilliant to find the space. But then, the one thing they lacked in the first half was that quality ball, picking out someone. And he's done that. He's picked out Rashford, and to be honest, he can't miss. It's the composure, nice side foot, tap in, you know, and hopefully now the game becomes alive. But straight away, what I love is the reaction from the fans. They're getting behind Preston. There's still a long way to go, but credit to Villa there. Showed a little bit of quality that they haven't had in that first 45 minutes.
Well, we say it a lot about players who we deem to be struggling, and we use that well-worn catchphrase, that would surely do him the power of good. What will that do for Marcus Rashford's confidence now he's got a goal to add to the assists that he's already made for Aston Villa in this loan move?
It's massive, you know, he's a marquee player, he's a big name. You know, so yes, the assists are great, but he's also a striker. He wants to score goals, he wants to be the game changer, the game maker, the one that's making things happen. You know, straight away you can already see in this second half his body language has been more positive. He's clapping, he's applauding, and like I said, it wouldn't surprise me now if he went on and got a couple more.
Preston 0, Villa 1 then, as we approach the hour. Martinez under pressure from Reece manages to chip the ball out to Digne left-hand side. Works a lovely ball in field for Asensio in space around the centre circle. Slides in Rashford down the left-hand side of the area. Rodgers waiting for a ball across. Rashford still got it. Tries to pull it back. Holds it up. Oh, it's missed on the line by Ramsey and by Rodgers. And Preston somehow get it clear.
And Rashford's come alive, hasn't he? Ramsey's got to score there. It's brilliant play by Rashford down that left-hand side. Picks him out, it's a tap-in. He's got to score.
Complete air shot from Jacob Ramsey, and then Rodgers saw his shot blocked at the near post. Gone down inside the area, penalties given. Morgan Rodgers went down at the right-hand corner of the area, and Chris Kavanagh's pointed to the spot, and suddenly Villa have a chance to put clear daylight between themselves and Championship Preston.
It's 2 minutes of madness, isn't it? And it looks like Rashford now is going to get his brace by the looks of it, and it's such a shame. You know, for a good 45-50 minutes, Preston have been so organised, so diligent, and then within 2 minutes they've really let themselves go, and it looks now like it's going to be a tough second half for them.
Well, they're already singing Que Sera Sera to our left in the Bill Shankly stand. Referee just explaining to the Preston players who are surrounding him. I think it was Lewis Gibson who caught Rodgers at that right-hand corner of the area when it looked like the home side had cleared their lines. And you're right, Marcus Rashford has collected the ball. Asensio did have the ball in his hand initially after the penalty was awarded, but Rashford has said, no, this is mine.
And again, though, we talk about tired legs, and I know it's still early on in the game, but we talk about the fatigue level. Probably then decision-making isn't as good, and that's what you're probably seeing right now with the Preston players. There's
a change being ready by Paul Heckingbottom on the Preston bench, regardless of what happens, I think, with this penalty. So Cornell finally starts walking backwards towards his goal line. Rashford now placing the ball on the spot. Better be careful, Diaconelli, he doesn't get a yellow card because he's not moved back anywhere near his goal line yet. Now, as Chris Kavanagh spots what he's doing, orders him to get back to his goal line. So Rashford takes 4 or 5 paces back from the ball. A very straight run-up for Marcus Rashford to try and make it 2-0 for Villa here in this cup tie. Cornell waits on his line. Rashford now starts his run-up. Short stutter, right-footed, sent him the wrong way, and Villa are 2 up. Rashford has 2, Villa have 2. They've probably got 2 feet in the FA Cup semi-finals. Rashford at the double.
It's a great finish, great composure. that one, the little stutter, I was never a big fan of that when I took my penalties, but he's just looked to see where the keeper's gone, and as soon as he's seen it, he's placed it down the right-hand side, and 2 goals within a couple of minutes, and it's going to be a big ask now for Preston. They're going to make changes now, but they've got to show now a little bit of pride.
Yeah, they are going to make a change, and it will be the aforementioned Milutin Osmajic who's going to come on for Preston to replace Will Keane, who was on a yellow card. Don't know whether that's got anything to do with the decision to take him off, but Osmajic, 3 goals in the FA Cup this season, 13 goals in all competition, but he had a ban earlier in the season for biting an opponent. There's an FA charge been levelled against him by Hannibal Mejbri of Burnley after something was allegedly said to Hannibal by Osmajic during the Preston-Burnley derby not long back. But he's on to partner Reese. We're back underway on Talksport. Preston 0, Villa 2. Preston get the ball into the Villa box, but the Premier League side win it back, and then there's a foul, as it was Rashford bringing it clear. No, Ramsey, I beg your pardon, bringing it clear. And so Villa have a free kick. And all is well in the Bill Shankly end. Villa fans already dreaming of the Wembley Arch.
Yeah, I'm sure Osmajic would have loved to have come on when it was only 1-0 down, to feel like he could maybe have a bit more of an impact. To ask him to come on at 2-0 down is a big ask, but he's someone that definitely has goals and could lift this Preston team.
Tash Dowie alongside me, Ian Tanter here at Deepdale. Tielemans, edge of his own penalty area, being closed down by Torderson, works it left for Tyrone Mings. Mings out to Digne, whose clever play set up Rashford's opener, finding that space. And now Rashford's trying to get in behind again. Down the left-hand side, he does have the drop for the moment on Jordan Storey, holding it up left-hand side of the area, support from Ramsey. Tries to give it back to Rashford, who is now on a hat-trick, let's not forget.
I'm calling it, he's going to get a hat-trick.
Okay, brave. Osmajic in the centre circle, heads it down and shows good strength to keep the ball away from Boubacar Kamara. And the ball's back with Jada Meghoma in the left wing-back position for Preston. All the Villa fans that you can hear around us here at Deepdale on Talksport. Meghoma obstructed by Kamara, free kick to Preston.
I think as well Unai Emery now is in a position where with 25-30 minutes to go, does he want to maybe not rest players but be able to rotate, keep people nice and fresh? I think being 2-0 up now, you don't want to take your foot off the gas, but also changes can be made now.
Both managers' arms folded at the edge of their respective technical areas on the opposite side of the field to us. Don't forget Bournemouth, Manchester City, live and exclusive on Talksport straight after this game and the draw for the semi-finals that's made in between the 2 ties this afternoon. So Palace and Forest and Aston Villa will be 3 of the numbers in the draw. Bournemouth and Manchester City to play later. Asensio gives the ball away to Meghoma, and he can stride towards the halfway line down this inside left channel for Preston, then tries to go around Matty Cash, but Cash is too clever for that and stop Meghoma getting round him. Villa with it back, Rodgers flicks it back to Cash. Kamara under pressure from Throkia, getting back towards his own corner flag at the Bill Shankly end. Konsa keeps the ball away from Osmajic, trying to play themselves out a very tight corner here, Villa. It's almost like it's the last minute of the game. And they do clip it downfield, but straight onto the head of Lewis Gibson. Kamara, good ball into the feet of Jacob Ramsey. Rodgers was being caught by Whiteman, who's going to get a yellow card. Trying to bring the ball over halfway, but Whiteman slid in and caught his man. Free kick to Villa, yellow card for Ben Whiteman.
Yeah, it's a shame. You can understand why Whiteman's doing what he does, but also as a neutral, you want to see the attack, and too many times, 5 or 6 times in the first half, Preston have done that as well, and then you're wondering what could have happened.
Tielemans in the centre circle for Aston Villa. Plays the ball left for Jacob Ramsey. Digne on the left-hand side, cuts in field, plays it into the feet of Rashford, whose 2 goals separate the sides. We're midway through the second half of this FA Cup quarter-final, so quarter of the game to go. Preston trying to win the ball back at the edge of their own penalty area, and they do so through Story. Brady trying to flick the ball in field, loses out, and Villa have it back. Ramsey on that far side of the field, plays it forward to Rashford. Ramsey again trying to hustle his way down that left flank. Ball's played in for Tielemans, turns away from Emil Rees. Good ball in field for Cameron. We lets the ball run under his boot, but Cash will keep it in play for Villa on this near side. Their right midway point of the Preston half. Cash on the halfway line now. Works it back for Concert. Osmajic freshly on the field trying to close down the space. And eventually Villa with a throw just shy of the halfway line. I mean, you think this is such an open FA Cup, Tash. You know, this year's last 8, before the start of the weekend, they had 18 FA Cup wins between them. Last year, it was 47 collective wins between the last 8 in the FA Cup.
Yeah, it's nice to see. You know, and teams are also at club level, the likes of Forest have been doing brilliant, you know, and they've taken that into the cup run as well.
And we do have at least one team in the last 4 who've never won it, in Crystal Palace. Bournemouth never even reached a major cup final. They could get into the last 4, but Manchester City are a fearsome prospect, even with the season that they are having. It's live on Talksport, an exclusive to Talksport from 4:30. Adrian's there, we'll check in with him later. But we've still got just over 20 minutes to go here at Deepdale. Preston 0, Aston Villa 2. And Villa in possession with Camera, looking to lob it downfield. Again, Rashford trying to get in behind Story. Flag stays down on this near side. Rashford collects it inside left channel. Players now moving ahead of him. One of them is Rodgers in the area and hits the ball straight at Cornell, who makes a save at his near post.
Rodgers has been a bit too casual for me in the final third. Hasn't been ruthless enough. It's a great ball by Rashford and a good run by Rodgers, but you've got to do more there. He's got all the time in the world to take a touch. He could even cut back on his right foot and look to bury it. So I think they're 2-0 up, and absolutely Aston Villa look a lot more confident now. But Rodgers, for me, just in that final third, hasn't shown the quality that we've seen so much from him this season.
Now Throkia for Preston. Tries to play the ball down the left-hand side, intended for Osmajic, but it was blocked by Cash. Comes back to Torderson on halfway. Now Meg Homer picks it up right underneath our commentary position on this near side. Back it goes for Gibson, and then Hughes across to Story. The 3 centre-halves exchanging passes for Preston. And we have 20 minutes to go. Di Cornell, right-footed, the goalkeeper smacks it downfield, looking for Brady to try and out-muscle Digne on that far side. He did, but then the ball just ricocheted back into the path of Ramsey. Infield for Tielemans on the halfway line. Digne in support. It's going to be a very, very happy trip back down the M6 for those Villa fans as Ramsey bursts forward to the edge of the D, works the angle for the shot and scores a brilliant third for Aston Villa to seal their passage through to the semi-finals. Wonderful individual effort from Jacob Ramsey. Turned and ran at the Preston back line, got inside the D, let fly, and Cornell was a spectator as the ball nestled in the bottom corner. It's Preston North End 0, Aston Villa 3.
Yeah, tired legs now. I feel sorry for Cornell because there's not really much he could have done about any of the 3 goals. But Ramsey, credit to him. You know, span, turn, but then the amount of space and no one shut him down. He was able to run straight through the Preston 11. You know, and the finish is very good. But for me, what Preston did so well in the first half, that discipline, that composure, the togetherness, really, I think the goals have completely killed their confidence, and they're looking around now almost as if ref just blow the whistle.
They're going to make a change now as well, Villa. In fact, a number of changes. First things first, Yuri Tielemans is going off for John McGinn to come on, and this is where the differences in the bench become quite pronounced. Marco Asensio is making way for Amadou Onana. So McGinn for Tielemans, Onana for Asensio. And the other change that's being made is Morgan Rodgers coming off to allow Daniel Marlin onto Borussia Dortmund to come on. So a triple change. 3 changes after the 3rd goal.
And I think that's even a harder task now for Preston. You know, you're 3-0 down, and now they've just brought on 3 top players who are fresh, who are hungry, who want to get themselves into this starting 11 with the amount of games, exciting games that Aston Villa have coming up. And really, you look at the Preston bench, they don't have that. They can't make the changes. They're not going to bring on 17, 18-year-old kids and throw them into this sort of environment. It wouldn't be fair.
Now we restart after the substitutions have been made. Preston 0, Villa 3 on Talksport. Villa, whose last FA Cup final was in 2015 when they were heavily beaten by Arsenal at Wembley Stadium, will be heading back under the arch into the last 4. And a foul on Concert by Osmajic. A little bit petulant from Osmajic, sign of the frustration that Preston players are feeling out there. They kept Villa at bay for an awfully long time in this game, until just before the hour when Marcus Rashford scored his first of the 2 he's got this afternoon. Ramsey with a lovely third. And Villa are not done yet. Cash looks to release Marlon down the right-hand side, but he'd stopped his run just as Cash was releasing the ball, and it's a Preston goal kick.
Yeah, I'd hope just more than anything that it doesn't become, like you said, a 4-5, 6-0, because then I think if people haven't watched the game, you would have no idea just how close that first 45 minutes was. So I hope that Preston can just regroup for these last 15 minutes, show a little bit of pride, go and get your fans maybe 1 goal, because they deserve that. They've played well for, like you said, 60 minutes of the game.
They're going to make a double change as well, Preston, in a minute when the ball next goes out of play. In the meantime, Villa in possession. Onana inside his own half, being challenged by Mads Prokja. Works it to his immediate right, and Cash can dart towards the halfway line. He might fancy a semi-final against his old club Nottingham Forest. Matty Cash in the semi-finals. Quite like that reunion. In midfield, Ramsey, who scored the third, finds Rashford at the edge of the area, drifting down the left-hand side of the box, runs into trouble but gets it back. McGinn in support, back to goal, works it back to the edge of the area. Onana urged to shoot by the fans at the other end of the pitch, but Preston managed to get it half clear, and then Osmajic wrestling with Concert, did too much wrestling for the referee's liking, and Villa get a free kick which they've taken quickly but wasted. But they get it back just over the halfway line. Onana. Ramsey tucks it back to Mings on halfway. Camera again ahead of the centre circle, options left and right, plays it into the edge of the area. I think he was looking for the run of McGinn, but Preston got it clear. Still the 2 Preston subs on the far side of the field wait. I think one of them is Liam Lindsay, centre half. Can't quite see who the other one is, but a double change imminent for the hosts. But they're 3-0 down here. They've got a trip to Derby in midweek. Derby, of course, in the bottom 3 of the championship, so they won't have long to lick their wounds. The Lily Whites straight back into it at Pride Park on Wednesday night before they welcome Stoke here next Saturday. And Stoke aren't completely clear of trouble, even though they beat Queen's Park Rangers yesterday. Here's Marcus Rashford for Aston Villa, down the left-hand side of the area, but too heavy a touch. He couldn't effect a cross into the box, so instead he put the ball out of play for a throw. And Ched Evans is going to come on for Emil Rees. Ched Evans, part of the coaching staff now, 36 years young. Ched Evans, 1 away from 100 appearances with this substitute knock he's getting. Liam Lindsay's come on for Jada McHomer for the other change that Preston have made here. So again, Tash, they're going with the experienced players to come on subs. They're not blooding the academy players like you mentioned.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think, like I said, if you look at the bench, those 2 are the ones that you would expect to bring on, both in their 30s, lots of experience, played at the level for a long time. I'm sure they would have loved to have been coming on to a bit of a different situation than what they're facing, but also, can they be the leaders that get this team together a little bit and, like I said, try and finish this game as strong as they possibly can. They've got 10-15 minutes to really have a go.
That's Tash Towie, you can hear alongside me. He and Danta here at Deepdale. Preston North End 0. Aston Villa 3. And much as with Crystal Palace at Fulham yesterday, the away side completely in control of this cup tie with the scoreline that we have. Here is Robbie Brady, now playing on the left-hand side. Now that Lindsay's on the field, he's switched back to his more natural habitat. Has Brady. Torderson tries to play the ball into the feet of Evans, who'll get it now. Torderson flicks it out to the left-hand side in Hughes. Brady's continued his run to the dead ball line, tries to whip the cross in, but Onana with an important block, and then Cash hits it against Hughes and wins a throw for Aston Villa. 3-0 up they are.
Yeah, I think there's some players at Preston that can really hold their heads up high. The majority can, but Brady has really impressed me. I think Magoma, the fullback, has had a really strong game as well. So there's a few that can definitely walk off the pitch. I don't think there's many that will have any regrets come after this 90 minutes that they could have done more. Couple of half chances that maybe looking back they think, what if? But really, that's football, isn't it? It's the fine moments. 12
minutes to go on Talksport in the FA Cup quarter-final. Preston 0, Villa 3. Slip from Luca Digne allows Preston in. It's worked up to Osmaic at the edge of the area. Tries an ambitious shot on the turn at the edge of the box. It was blocked by Mings. Preston try and work the second ball up to Evans, but Villa snaffle possession back. And Cash will just tuck it back to Concert inside his own 18-yard box. Cash again looks up. Rashford's calling for it. You pointed it out there to me, Cash. He's on his heels, ready to go, isn't he? On his toes, should I say.
He is. He's looked a different player this second half.
And it's Ramsey who scored Villa's excellent third. Inside left channel, just stops his run, works it back to Amadou Onana. Back into the centre circle it goes from Onana to Konsa. Cash. And Villa fans cheering every completed pass as Marlon gives it back to Cash. And now Konsa, under a bit of pressure from Osmaic, gets up to the halfway line, drifts away from him for a moment. Getting better and better as a centre-half every time I see him, Esri Konsa.
Yeah, he's so calm and composed, like a Rolls Royce, isn't he? Just watching him. Top defender. And then it looks like Villa are going to make a couple more changes as well, which I think is just great. People can keep fresh, no injuries. It's been the perfect afternoon.
Well, Andres Garcia is going to give Matty Cash a rest at fullback. That's the first of the two changes that are being made. And also coming off, Marcus Rashford. No chance of a hat-trick today. Yeah, he's ruined Tash Dowie's premonition. But he's got his first two goals in Aston Villa colours, and now he makes way for Ollie Watkins. Again, not a bad change to have in your armoury if you're Unai Emery.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if Watkins had a little bit of a knock, I think it's been great that he's been able to just give him a little 10-minute run out just so he can get a touch of the ball, but without having to do any crazy damage.
Free kick for Villa, left-hand side, just past the midway point of the Preston half. Dean is standing over it, left-footed, whips it in front of goal, and Watkins heads it wide with his first touch. Right in front, Ollie Watkins. Beautiful delivery from Luca Digne, and Watkins right in front, unmarked. Saw the ball skim off his forehead and go wide.
Yeah,
goal kick.
The chance almost came too soon. Yeah, and I think that's where the top players, they come onto the pitch within the first 10 seconds. He gets an opportunity, and maybe he's just not come alive to that yet. Been sitting on the bench for a bit too long, and that'll be an opportunity that he knows that he should be taking.
This is going to be Preston's first home defeat since November the 2nd, when another team came here and scored 3. That was Bristol City in a 3-1 defeat that Preston suffered that day here. And Villa, having been held out for nearly an hour, suddenly had this purple patch and find themselves 3 goals to the good, and we've got less than 9 minutes to go. FA Cup semi-final draw next up. Adrian Durham will take you through that, and then we're off to the Vitality. And now Watkins is played through at the edge of the area and puts it wide from the edge of the D from almost exactly the same spot where Jacob Ramsey made it 3. He puts it the wrong side of the post for Villa, and it stays 3-0.
Oh, 2 chances within the first minute of him being on the pitch, and he probably should have 2 goals. But you've got to give credit to Kamara there. Absolutely brilliant awareness in midfield to play the little 1-2, and then the way to pass is beautiful for Watkins. And again, he should have 2 goals within a minute of him being on.
Well, they are making changes. Theo Mawene and Theo Carroll from the Preston Academy are coming on. Stefan Tordersen and Mads Brugge are being withdrawn, so 2 young midfielders are coming on for these last few minutes. With the game effectively done, Carroll and Mulwenny on for these last few minutes for Preston. We've got 7.5 to go, plus added time. Preston 0, Villa 3, and Lindsay receives a short goal kick from the goalkeeper Cornell and floats it down the left-hand side for Robbie Brady. Gets a good flick onto it, but he's offside, Robbie Brady. So Villa get themselves a free kick.
And again, when you talk about the youngsters coming on now, I think being 3-0 down, there's nothing that's expected of them. I think it's great that they get now the opportunity to play in front of the home crowd, get to taste what it's like to be a first-team player against some Premier League players as well. So I think that's a nice touch as well by the manager.
Villa's next game is live on Talksport on Wednesday night down at the Amex against Brighton and Hove Albion. It's part of a week of fixtures. And here's Theo Carroll trying to drive early on, having come on, this attacking midfielder from the academy, but ambitious at best and straight at Emi Martinez. So yeah, Brighton Villa Wednesday night. That is our 350th live commentary of the season. At the same time on TalkSport 2, presumably the 351st, Manchester City against Leicester City. And then Villa at home to Forest next Saturday, which might, depending on what happens with the draw, be a dress rehearsal for the semi-final. After that, Paris Saint-Germain in Paris. Ball's back with Ezri Konsa, midway point of his own half. Just guides it back to Martinez, who hasn't really had a save to make in the Villa goal this afternoon. A couple of nervy moments at the back for Villa, but nothing where Preston can say we brought the best out of Emi Martinez. Just one push away from a deep Robbie Brady cross. That's about all I can think of, really, that Martinez has been forced to do.
Yeah, and what you probably could say as well is Villa probably never got out of second gear in the first half, and then when they've needed to turn it on, they've been able to turn it on quite comfortably.
Ball's back with Martinez, who's almost playing chicken with Ched Evans before he clears the ball up to halfway, but Preston win it back. But when he got involved, breaks for Carroll, who's won a free kick for Preston, and again the ironic cheers as Preston are awarded a free kick by Chris Kavanagh. And as you say, Tash, it's a chance for Preston here to try and get a consolation to give their fans something to cheer on their way home tonight.
Yeah, I think they deserve one as well. I've been really pleasantly pleased with what I've seen today from Preston, and I think all the fans can be really proud as well with what the team's been able to show them. And they had probably 2 minutes of madness, which unfortunately is the difference between probably Championship and Premiership level. You get punished.
Free kick, Brady fires into the area. Lindsay tries to head it back across the face of goal, and Martinez claims it, although he knows that the ball had already gone behind the dead ball line, so it will be a goal kick to Villa away to our right hand side. So stay on this frequency for Bournemouth against Manchester City from the Vitality. I was there when Bournemouth beat Manchester City in the Premier League earlier in the season. It was kind of the start of that decline that we saw for Pep Guardiola's men. I don't think Bournemouth had ever beaten Manchester City prior to that afternoon. And Andoni Iraola is drawing admiring glances here, there and everywhere. But I think City will be a slightly different proposition this afternoon than they were in that corresponding league fixture that I went to early in the campaign. Throw for Preston in their left-back position, 3-0 down. Taken quickly, and Whiteman tries to send the ball over halfway, but it deflects off Boubacar Kamara. And Brady will leave the throw for Andrew Hughes to take. Looking for an option down the line. Evans and Osmajic are there. Hughes steals a few yards and launches the ball back into play, taken down by the chin of Ched Evans. It was trying to take it down in his chest, but it caught up and hit him low in the face. Back it goes to Emi Martinez. Clips a lovely ball out to Garcia on this near side, the Villa substitute. Plays it into Marlon. McGinn, all the substitutes involved at the moment for Villa. And then a lovely ball swept out to the left-hand side by Camera Verdinha. Ramsey tries to give it back to Onana on halfway. He protected the ball, brilliant to keep it away from Carroll, and now plays it out to the left-hand side for Luca Digne. Watkins waiting for a cross. McGinn and Marlon in there as well for Villa. It's rolled back to Jacob Ramsey, level with the 18-yard line at the left-hand corner of the area. Onana then takes over. Gives it back to Mings. Mings just to the left of the centre circle. Pokes it through to McGinn. McGinn out to the left-hand side, and Onana being pressurised by Carroll. 2 minutes of normal time to go on Talksport. Villa 3-0 up. Semi-final draw on the way. Stay here with us for that before the last quarter-final that's exclusive to us between, as I mentioned, Bournemouth and Manchester City. Daniel Marlon wants a bit of a chopping challenge from Carroll in the centre circle.
Wow, great strength shown there.
Onana out to Digne, left-hand side. Being closed down by Mawene. He's actually being held, embracing him was Theo Mawene there. Free kick to Aston Villa, right under the referee's nose. And the free kick will be for Luca Digne to take, and once again the familiar strains of K. Sarah start to ring around the Bill Shankly end to our left. Remember, Villa haven't won a major trophy since 1996 when they won the League Cup against Leeds United. They've been waiting an awful long time. 2 FA Cup final defeats since then against Chelsea and Arsenal this millennium. Digne with a free kick, cleared away comfortably at the near post by Mawene, and out of play for a throw on the far side. And these Villa fans have waited it's a generation of Villa fans, Tash Dowie, that have waited for a trophy.
Yeah, and when you look at it now, Palace, Forest, Villa, and then, like you said, City, Bournemouth, it really is anyone's.
Throw into the area. McGinn trying to tee up a teammate, and it's driven wide for a corner. Tielemans was the man running in, was it, or was it Ramsey? It was Ramsey running in. Corner given. You're listening to Preston 0, Villa 3 in the FA Cup on Talksport with Carling, the official beer partner of the Emirates FA Cup. 18 plus, please drink responsibly.
Yeah, last-ditch defending there to try and keep it at a respectable 3-0. Very close to making it 4-0 there, Villa.
Well, only 2 minutes of minimum stoppage time have been added on by Chris Kavanagh, and it will be a corner kick for Preston, and a few ill-mannered Preston supporters are throwing crumpled up mosaic tiles at Luca Digne as he takes the corner. Free kick's been given for a push on a Preston player inside the box, and we're into those 2 minutes now on Talksport.
Yeah, it's tough for Preston now. You know, it was a big ask today to progress through, and then do they have a lot to play for in the season? You know, they're sitting in not a position they wouldn't want to be, but it really is now like their season's fizzled out. But I think for the fans here today, just the occasion in general is a great day out for them. You know, to progress as far that they've got to, they could be really proud. And it's given them, you know, something to really enjoy when it's been quite a tough period, hasn't it, for Preston over the last few years?
10th successive season at championship level. Never really mixed it in the playoffs too many times during that time either. And they've conceded a free kick as Watkins was just caught in the centre of the Preston half of the field. Leicester 1, Spurs 0 in the WSL. Josephine Rybring own goal, putting Leicester ahead. Free kick to Aston Villa in the centre of the Preston half. Camera taking his time over it, tries to clip it over the top for Watkins, headed away by Lindsay, just inside his own penalty area, and then a foul on Brady by Garcia as he tried to clear the ball downfield, and the referee says, "Don't run off with the ball, mate, or I'll book you," to Andres Garcia. Liverpool 1, Villa 0 in the WSL. The fist bump from Tash Dowie as Marie Hobinger with a penalty puts Liverpool ahead. So whilst Villa's women are behind, Villa's men are through to a semi-final. And there goes the full-time whistle. Aston Villa are through to the FA Cup semi-final. Emiliano Martinez sinks to his knees with joy. And for an hour or so this afternoon, Preston were giving Villa's FA Cup credentials a stern examination, despite a scratch squad that Paul Heckingbottom had to put together to field this FA Cup tie. But then along came Marcus Rashford, who up until today had only got assists to his name as an Aston Villa player. But a quick brace either side of the hour effectively put this tie beyond the Lily Whites, scoring in the 59th minute from a clever pullback from Luca Digne, and then a penalty not long after Rodgers was fouled just inside the area. And the scoring was completed. A lovely goal, probably the best of the three, from Jacob Ramsey. Brilliant turn and run to the edge of the D and fired it hard and true past Di Cornell in the Preston goal to seal Villa's passage through to a trip back to Wembley. They'll find out who they get in the semi-finals in a few short minutes' time when the draw is made, but they're through, and that's all that matters. Full time at Deepdale, Preston North End 0, Aston Villa 3.
Yeah, the draw coming up in just a second, but Tash Dowie, fair play to Preston. For almost an hour they held on. 57 minutes and 45 seconds, it's 0-0. 62 minutes and 20 seconds, it's 2-0. And in that meantime, Rashford scored, Ramsey missed a sitter, Rashford scored from the penalty spot, and it was all over. Brilliant third goal added by Jacob Ramsey, and you can't really argue on that second half performance, you can't really argue with how it went in the end.
No, absolutely not. I think Villa definitely deserved to win the game, and I think it was all about squad depth. You know, how long could Preston hold out for? And unfortunately, it wasn't long enough. And, you know, we talk about those 2-3 minutes of madness, but for me as well, it was Villa turning it on. You know, they really didn't get out of second gear in that first half. And then when they needed to, you know, the big players, the Rashfords, who I said didn't look himself in the first half, they really then stood up and were counted, the likes of Ramsey as well, and then it was really game over for them. So yeah, credit to Aston Villa, and Preston can really hold their head up high. I really thoroughly enjoyed watching them for a good 60 minutes of this game.
Well, I said at half time, had that been Marcus Rashford in a Man United shirt, he would have got slaughtered. He could make a case for being man of the match with a couple of goals, and he really turned up in the second half for Aston Villa.
Yeah, he did. I think probably sometimes that's the most frustrating thing with Rashford, is that why can't he do that for 90 minutes? You know, within the first 10 seconds of the first half, he looks more energetic, he's making runs in behind, you know, he's a threat. With his pace, you know, Preston couldn't live with that. You know, so it's just a shame that, you know, sometimes he picks and chooses when to turn up. But today, you know, he did turn up in the second half, and luckily enough for Villa, he was a big kind of game changer for them, and he took his goals really well and looked a real threat.
Well, Rashford back in the England squad already, and we're just wondering how long it'll be before Jacob Ramsey gets that call-up, because I loved his goal. He takes the ball just inside the Preston half, turns in a flash, and that's what really disrupts the Preston defence. He storms towards the goal, shows strength to hold off defenders, and then fires it into the back of the net. It's a brilliant individual goal.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely it is. And I think credit to him as well that, you know, probably the reason why the Preston players didn't engage him is because they're scared of his pace, scared of the way that he can manipulate the ball and penetrate, you know, through the thirds. But then to be able to then run pretty much half the length of the pitch and then still have the composure to finish it the way he did, you know, he was a standout player as well today, and credit to him. You know, his second goal now, he's already had 3 assists this season, come through the academy ranks. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, depending on what happens here at the Vitality, Bournemouth Man City coming up live and exclusive on Talksport, Tash. Depending on what happens here, Aston Villa might consider themselves to be favourites. They've got a brilliant chance of winning the FA Cup this season, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. You know, when I look at it, when I look at them, when I look at Forest and the season they're having, they'll absolutely fancy their chances as well. And Palace, we know how good they are on their day. You know, they can make it hard for anyone. And then we're not even talking about the likes of City and Bournemouth yet, you know, to see who progresses there. So as a neutral, I think it's really exciting to see, you know, potentially 4 completely new teams mix it, you know, in the semi-finals and then a brand new final. It's really exciting.
Are you one of those that you can't really say it out loud, but everybody wants Bournemouth to win this fourth quarter final?
Absolutely, yeah, I'll say it out loud. Come on, Bournemouth.
You can understand why as well, because it will be at least if not a new name, a relatively new name on the FA Cup. If Bournemouth do beat Man City, one of the 4 to win it from the semi-finalists will be a relatively new name. But on this game, how will Preston be feeling now? Because you kind of said it there towards the end of commentary, that's their season pretty much done, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. It's really hard because you look forward to this game. You kind of wish and dream that potentially a miracle can happen today and your season can still be alive. And for 60 minutes, they definitely were in it and believed it. But then I think now it's going to be tough, for them. Like you said, they've got really nothing to play for except for pride. Try and finish the season as strong as they possibly can. But I think it'll take a lot out of them today. With how much they've put into it, I think it will take a lot out of them. And their squad is depleted at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, that really was the big problem for them today. Yeah, they could hold on till half-time. They couldn't last the whole game with the amount of players they had out for various reasons today. When we're looking at Aston Villa, I don't think Unai Emery gets enough credit, or the club get enough credit for the recruitment they did, particularly in January. They've got some brilliant youngsters. They had a really good squad, competitive squad, that got them into the Champions League and did well in that Champions League stage this season. And then they go and sign 2 winners in Asensio and Rashford. And when I'm talking winners, these guys have picked up trophies. They've contributed to winning trophies for big clubs in the past. That's brilliant recruitment from Aston Villa.
Yeah, it is, and I think it shows the ambitions of this club and where they want to be. That's what they haven't lost in the last 6 now. When you look at what they're still fighting for, and what this club's about, it's a huge club. It always has been. But I think that it shows with the top players now want to come and play for Aston Villa, and I think that says a lot.
And I think with Unai Emery as well, I'd love to know what he did say at half-time, but whatever it was, everybody stayed calm. They came out better in that second half and got the job done. And it might have been because of Preston's depleted squad, but it could have gone the other way. It could have got really nervous for Aston Villa.
It absolutely could have, and I think it would have been a case of, right, we need to start turning up. A little bit of a kick up the backside, to be honest. And actually, let's start playing. We've got enough quality, and if actually all of you start putting in an extra 5-10%, then there should not be a problem, and that was the case.
Yeah, I think they've showcased Aston Villa, what they can do. There's so much to play for in this season. A league position to start with in the Premier League. Champions League, they're still involved as well, and those will be 2 great games coming up for them. And FA Cup semi-final, a trip to Wembley. It's not just Birmingham going to Wembley this season. Aston Villa heading to Wembley as well this season. This is turning in to the best Aston Villa season they have had for a long, long time.
Yeah, and look, I've got a lot of friends that are Aston Villa fans, and when I was speaking to them before the game about what it's like in and around the club, they just said the atmosphere right now, the buzz around the club, is phenomenal, and they're enjoying it. The players are enjoying it, and you can see that in their performances. Some of the players in this team are having probably the seasons of their lives, and long may that continue for all these Aston Villa fans. It's exciting times ahead for sure.